Dragon Ball. Destroy Planet Vegeta with Frieza. Chapter 101. Ha! Under everyone's gaze, an evil figure gradually emerged. It was a gray-brown, skinny figure, but the clothes he wore were similar to Fat Boo's, and his aura was similar, except that he looked more evil. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. Why does it feel like a different guy has appeared? And, his aura is so evil. Even Fat Boo was also stunned. Who are you? Why is your aura the same as mine? Looking at the figure emerging from the pink smoke, Fat Boo's heart was turbulent, and there was a faint sense of similarity. Because of this, an unusual feeling arose spontaneously. On the other hand, the figure didn't care how surprised the people present were. He looked around and the expression on his face was extremely evil. It seemed quite indifferent. He was the true incarnation of Boo, the pure evil form. A form transformed by the evil thoughts of Majin Buu. After observing, evil Boo flashed to the side of Fat Boo, looked him up and down, and then made a move that surprised everyone. He smiled coldly, and then punched Fat Boo. Waste. I am you. You didn't even notice this. How stupid. I am ashamed to have such a kind heart as yours. You, just become my strength. Under the shocked eyes of everyone. He grabbed Fat Boo's head and directly output, completely crushing Fat Boo without any room for maneuver. This scene stunned Carl and Greta. Both of them were dumbfounded. Never thought that the situation would become so complicated. The appearance of Majin Buu had already made him feel quite unbelievable. Now there is another Majin Buu. And, what is even more unbelievable to them is that these two Majin Buu actually killed each other. What is going on? However, when they really couldn't figure it out, they looked at Mu Chuan, who was sure of victory and felt relatively relieved. Looking at their boss's expression, they knew that everything seemed to be under control, but there were secrets that they didn't know. Carl approached quietly. Boss, what's going on? Why is it getting more and more confusing? Are these two not Majin Buu? Although the result was obvious, Carl was still a little unsure. It always felt too incredible. Mu Chuan nodded, confirming his suspicion. These two are indeed Majin Buu, but they are just different forms of Majin Buu. The first one was Fat Buu, who had good thoughts in his body and was more pure, but without proper guidance, everything he did was extremely naive. The thin Majin Buu that appeared at the end can be said to be a conspicuous gathering of the evil thoughts emanating from Fat Buu's body, and can also be said to be his second form. It is commonly known as the pure evil form. Because of the differentiation of evil thoughts, Evil Buu has very powerful power, at least stronger than Fat Buu. If Fat Buu has a combat power of 100 billion, then Evil Puppets has a combat power of 160 billion. As Mu Chuan spoke, both Carl and Greta were stunned. What kind of magical change is this? And what did they hear? 100 billion combat power. 160 billion combat power. Is this so terrifying? They simply couldn't imagine how terrifying it was. Now they could barely become Super Saiyan 1. Their combat power barely exceeded 100 million. They were all complacent, but what kind of numbers were they hearing now? But when they thought about it, it seemed that such a powerful Majin Buu was not that powerful in front of their boss. Although they didn't know who was stronger between Evil Buu and the boss, the previous battle completely crushed Fat Buu. What's the difference between him and the current Evil Buu? In this comparison, at least their boss is definitely similar to the evil doll. Thinking about it this way, they were even more shocked. They never thought that their boss would be so terrifying. Are we waiting for them to lose both of them now? No. This is not their final form, and their strength is not enough. I need a stronger one. Enemy. Mu Chuan said calmly. For the current Majin Buu, there is no way to pose a threat to him. Even if Evil Buu fully explodes, his combat power cannot exceed 200 billion. For him, this is just an enemy that can be easily destroyed. It is far from enough. Of course, if Evil Buu swallows Fat Buu, it will become the strongest form Big Buu. Only then will it be a threat to him. But this is already the final form. After all, the so-called absorption form depends on the opponent. Isn't the strength enough? The two repeated what Mu Chuan said, and were stunned for a while, not knowing how to respond. Mu Chuan was naturally clear about the situation of the two people, and he also understood what they were thinking. I told you that as a Saiyan, the most important thing is to fight. Even if steady training can also improve combat effectiveness, fighting is often the only shortcut that can make us improve the fastest. Quote. If you want to explore a higher level, you have to go through endless battles. Since it's hard to find an opponent, why not create one? Besides, only when Evil Boo really devours Fat Boo, there will be a relatively worthy opponent. Quote. Mu Chuan stated his purpose. If it was just to deal with the opponent, it would be very easy, and he could completely crush him. Even if the two joined forces, they would not be his opponent, but he did not want to do that. It was rare to have an opponent that he liked, so he had to hone himself well and improve his combat effectiveness again. He had already reached the top. What's more, he also had a sense of urgency in his heart. If he relied on his current combat power, he was indeed a strong man. But in this universe, there are many people stronger than him. He wants to try to break through the boundaries of Super Saiyan, and return to the origin. That is the fourth stage of Super Saiyan. This is a wild form, and it is also a form that can challenge God with a certain strength, if you don't achieve the fourth stage of Super Saiyan. With his current strength, it is not enough to look down on the entire universe. Evil Boo completely suppressed Fat Boo. Fat Boo was weaker than Evil Boo, not to mention that he had differentiated his evil thoughts, which had already reduced his combat effectiveness. After the battle just now, he had not recovered for a while. He was even more passive at this moment. Under the surprised eyes of everyone, Evil Boo emitted a purple lightning, which instantly enveloped Fat Boo, and then turned into a delicious chocolate, and then threw it into his mouth. This. Eat it. Carl was dumbfounded on the spot. Such a powerful Majin Buu would eventually end in this way. He was turned into chocolate and eaten. Isn't this too outrageous? Under his extremely shocked eyes, Evil Boo changed. He was originally skinny, but after swallowing Fat Boo, his whole body swelled a little, and the color of his body became more round. Changed his previous evil appearance. However, the evil aura on his body did not decrease at all, and was even stronger than before. Big Boo looked around expressionlessly, and finally looked at Mu Chuan steadily, with a wicked smile gradually appearing on the corner of his mouth. You are very brave to let me gain the most powerful fighting power. Then I will grant you the ability to merge with me. Become a part of my power. When Evil Boo appeared, he knew his situation clearly. After all, he and Boo were one. Because of this, he wanted to devour Fat Boo as soon as possible from the beginning, so that he could gain the most peak strength. Now, he got what he wanted. Facing this prosperous Big Boo, Mu Chuan's face gradually showed a hint of excitement. This is the opponent he wants. A powerful opponent. This terrifying oppressive force, this is what he has longed for. That's right. This is the height my opponent should have. Mu Chuan stretched his muscles and became excited. Facing Boo with a new form, he not only had no worries, but also entered the state instantly. At the same time, there was a hint of expectation in his heart. The battle would force him to his limit and allow him to have the full power form of Super Saiyan 3. Is it still far from Super Saiyan 4? 240 billion combat power. This is the strength of Big Boo at the moment. But it is still inferior to Mu Chuan. When the two of them were about to have a peak showdown. In the distant universe, the terrifying evil forces were slowly gathering together, forming a very terrifying force. And the leader of all this was Cooler. When he learned that he could not deal with the Saiyans, Cooler devoted himself to practice. It can be said that he fulfilled his extraordinary talent. However, no matter how strong his fighting power is, there is no way for him to have full confidence in dealing with Mu Chuan. The more he understands, the clearer it is. Therefore, after Gyula mastered his silver form, it can be said that his fighting power has reached 10 billion, but even so, he is not completely sure. In the end, he chose a way that no one could imagine. That is to prepare to gather the most terrifying evil army and gather the most terrifying existences from various galaxies together. Only by gathering these terrifying warriors together can he defeat the Saiyans. At first, he found the strongest galactic warriors, Bojack and others through various explorations. After some twists and turns, Bojack was truly unsealed. The two hit it off and were ready to gather the most terrifying evil force to rule the universe. Today, the two are still not satisfied, wandering in various galaxies, looking for the targets they need. Eula, are you sure there is such a terrifying existence? Yes, according to legend, there once appeared a very strong warrior on the star Naz, called the Phantom Man. If we can control him, then our pace of dominating the universe will be even faster. No matter who it is, there is no way to stop us. That's right. What Eula needs to find is the Phantom Man Hildigan. This is a huge monster created by the magician who transmits evil beliefs to the statue. The combat power is very terrifying. And it does not have a very complete autonomous consciousness. As long as it can be controlled, they will have very terrifying means. Eula knew this, so he searched all over the world. Bojack didn't care. He had only one purpose, to turn the four kill the kings of the world. After all, he had suffered a lot when he was sealed at the end of the galaxy. Now that he was freed, he just wanted to kill those kings of the world. On the contrary, what Eula said about ruling the galaxy was of no use to him at all, but he also needed to cooperate with Eula, otherwise it would be difficult to accomplish it with his personal strength. It was precisely because of this that Eula was more dominant in the cooperation between the two. Bojack heard Eula's words and waved his hand indifferently. It doesn't matter. Whether it can be found or not, it doesn't matter to me. I just need to complete my goal. Facing Bojack's negative state, Eula frowned slightly. If it weren't for wanting to use Bojack's power, he definitely didn't want to associate with such a person. Isn't this sending ahead? Although Bojack's combat power is very strong, it is not so strong that it cannot be matched. Perhaps it is not certain who will win and who will lose between the two of them. Therefore, Eula knew very well that the two of them were no match for the Saiyans. How could they take revenge? Bojack, you have to be more careful. Since you want to seek revenge on the person who sealed you, don't you have to have a stronger power? We don't know who the most powerful existence in the galaxy is, but there is a very powerful guy blocking our way. He should also stop you from taking revenge. Don't you want revenge? Oh, who has such a great ability? Bojack's curiosity rose. After all, during the time when he was sealed, there was no such guy in the entire galaxy. Now, he is also very curious. Zangia and others on the side are also curious, but most of them still don't believe it. King Eula, although it is indeed a bit rude to refute your words, who in the entire galaxy can be a match for the two of you? I think you are exaggerating. Bojack's four subordinates responded one after another. They didn't think there was such a powerful existence. It was already very amazing that there was such a Eula now. And Eula didn't appear suddenly. The frozen demons have been sailing in the universe since ancient times, and they are a very terrifying race. They can accept this. If they say there are stronger ones, they don't believe it at all. Facing the still arrogant Bojack and others, Eula did not say a word and directly played the video he had saved. That was the scene of Mu Chuan fighting with Baby. Although the combat power of the two at that time was only 10 or 20 billion, the scene created was also very shocking. What's more, how long has it been? Who could not have improved? And they are Saiyans who claim to be a fighting nation, so it is even more impossible that there is no progress. At least they have tens of billions of combat power. Looking at the extreme fighting methods in the picture, even Bojack gradually began to gather his mind, and the expression on his face gradually became serious. If he fights with both sides, maybe he can win. But if the two are added together, he dare not guarantee it. And this is not the point, it also makes him clearly know that there are still many strong people in this universe. It is not as barren as he imagined. I didn't expect that. It's just like what you said. There are so many terrifying strong people in this universe. This is interesting. It seems that we really can't be careless, otherwise it's easy to capsize in the ditch. Bojack was a little more serious. However, his attitude also made Eula very dissatisfied. Eula is a very cautious person. After all, he has really seen the Great Terror, and he dare not act easily without absolute certainty. Eula frowned and said, "Don't underestimate anyone in the universe. The universe is now full of undercurrents and there are countless strong people. I once thought that we could easily dominate the universe with our strength. After all, there were no strong people across several galaxies, so I naturally thought that I was already extremely powerful. But that's just a narrow view. The real strong people will not pay attention to us at all, and even think we are jumping clowns. And this guy in the video is a fighting nation in the universe, with the most terrifying bloodline, and can also become a Super Saiyan. A very scary race. After saying this, Eula also released a video. This video is the whole process of Frieza being eliminated. This video is not released to prove anything, but just to let Bojack's people know clearly that Saiyans cannot be easily underestimated. This is a very outrageous race. Their normal combat power is not strong, but when they transform, their combat power can be doubled. What we know now is that they can increase their normal combat power by 50 times. Think about it, this is 50 times the combat power. Even Gyula felt it was exaggerated. No wonder they are the mortal enemy of the Frozen Demon clan. At this moment, Bojack also slowly began to take it seriously. With the current combat power, it is indeed impossible to deal with him, but what if the opponent's strength has been improved? This is something no one can guess. At this time he was silent. On the contrary, his 4 men were all stunned. I didn't expect that after being sealed for such a long time, the entire universe has changed. It is really unimaginable for them. Too exaggerated. The world has become so exaggerated. There was no such existence before. If there really was such strength, wouldn't it have dominated the Milky Way long ago? The gap made them feel like frogs at the bottom of a well. At the same time, he also faced himself. Seeing that everyone finally faced their own strength and stopped being arrogant, Eula secretly breathed a sigh of relief. This is the evil army he wants. Although he is committed to revenge and wants to rule the entire universe, it does not mean that he wants to have a group of arrogant guys. Fortunately, they are gradually aware of their situation. Okay, don't underestimate yourself. Although we may not be able to win with our combat power, we are definitely not weak and will not hesitate. What's more, as long as we can find the seal of the Phantom Demon, we will have the most terrifying weapon in the world. After letting them face their own strength, Eula gave them a little sweetness. So as not to let them really despair. Eula already has the most accurate information. If he wants to unlock the Phantom Demon, he must first find the magician Hoi, who is the one who knows the seal of the Phantom Demon. Of course, that kind of guy only they can cooperate, but if they want to truly unite, it is unlikely. Because they want to truly master the Phantom Demon. The big killer only has meaning when it is in their own hands. Mu Chuan is looking at Big Boo at this moment. He has no idea that in another corner of the universe, a group of evil legions are gathering, and their purpose is not pure. Even the primary goal is to destroy the Saiyans. After all, the existence of the Saiyans has become an obstacle to their progress. But whether he knows it or not, Mu Chuan never cares. As long as he makes his combat power reach the peak, everything is just a vain hope. No one is his opponent. Come on. Let me see what kind of combat power you have after absorbing Fat Boo. Don't let me down. Mu Chuan exploded instantly, and the combat power of the third stage of Super Saiyan was undoubtedly revealed, and at this time it was full power. Without any hesitation. Whether it is the blood of the Saiyans or the frozen demons, the two are completely blended together at this moment. Super Saiyan Stage 3. Frozen Demon's Silver Form. It can be said that both are very terrifying forms. When the two are combined, his combat power directly reaches 360 billion. Normal combat power is 900 million. This is his full power. When he showed his full combat power, the entire demon world was in turmoil, and even a little crack appeared in the demon world. The breath reverberated throughout the galaxy. All the planets were shaken. Many lives looked up at the sky in horror, as if a natural disaster was about to come. The North King in the heart of the North King also suddenly dropped his jaw, because this breath was so terrifying that it actually swept across the entire galaxy. The horror can be imagined. He stuttered on the spot. Not to mention King Kai of the North, every living being in the Milky Way felt a heartfelt tremor at this moment. Facing such a terrifying Mu Chuan, Big Boo was not only not afraid, but even had a hint of excitement. Huge power. There is a power greater than mine in this world, ha ha ha. It's incredible, but, all of this will be mine. Big Boo licked his lips, his whole face looked particularly evil, and his evil aura was undoubtedly revealed. Even facing 360 billion combat power, he was not panicked at all. He tore off a piece of meat from his head and threw it forward. The piece of meat gradually grew larger and instantly turned into a very large collar. The collar went towards Mu Chuan. Boss, be careful. Carl and others who were always paying attention to the battlefield couldn't help but warn him at this time. Mu Chuan seemed to have expected it. He knew all the methods of Majin Buu, even more familiar than Majin Buu. When he burst out with the strongest combat power, he had a premonition that Big Buu definitely wanted to devour him. But Mu Chuan would never let this happen to him. A flash of body, followed by a straight sprint. Mu Chuan turned into a beam of light, very fast, and before Big Buu could react, he punched through the opponent's stomach. Then there was a continuous bombardment of Qigong waves. Although these could not cause too much damage to Big Buu, they could suppress the opponent and rebound after hitting the bottom. He needed a stronger opponent. If someone always wanted to devour him, then knock out the opponent's teeth. Now he did it. Want to absorb me? Aren't you too naive? Don't use your little tricks to fool me, I know myself better than you, Majin Buu. Mu Chuan's voice echoed in Big Buu's ears. Although he was talking, his output was uninterrupted. In just a few seconds, Big Buu was crushed to pieces, looking quite miserable. If you were deceived by his appearance, you would definitely step into the abyss. Majin Buu has a super strong recovery ability. Even more terrifying than Namek. What's this little injury? Boom. A terrifying explosion sounded. The two separated. Mu Chuan looked at the other party from a distance, looking at the other party's ugly face, and the corners of his mouth rose slightly. It's rare to have such a powerful sandbag, which allows him to show all his strength. This feeling is so cool. Since he is the best among everyone, he basically can't use his full strength. Of course, it's not difficult to use his full strength, but those are things he can't deal with, and he may be dead if he doesn't handle it well. This is why he can't find an opponent for a long time. Big Buu is barely one of them. During this short separation, Big Buu quickly made adjustments, and the expression on his face became more fierce. He has never suffered such a great humiliation. The dignified Majin Buu was suppressed by others at this time and had no power to fight back. Anger is inevitable. But anger alone will not have any effect. Big Buu adjusted his mentality. HMPH. Don't get too proud. Big Buu showed an evil smile on his face. He was clearly at a disadvantage, but he could still laugh at this time. It is really unimaginable. Greta frowned and said, this guy is really strange. Now the gap is so big, and he has been suppressed by the boss all the time, but he can still be so arrogant. Does he have a trump card? It feels wrong. However, no matter what, the boss's strength is definitely the strongest, and no one can be the boss's opponent. No matter what kind of strong enemy they encountered. They have always believed that Mu Chuan is the most powerful one. Moreover, Mu Chuan has never let them down. While they were discussing, Big Buu moved. But when everyone present thought he was about to take action, he actually left in the opposite direction. The speed is quite fast. He. Do you really think I would be so stupid as to die in vain? I am indeed not your opponent now, but I will find you again soon, wait for me. Everyone was shocked by the action of Big Buu. Mu Chuan frowned even more. He felt that this guy had a secret that he could not tell. What was he going to do now? Just as he was thinking, he encountered a flash of lightning. He understood. He knew what Big Buu was going to do. That guy definitely knew that his strength was not as strong as his own, and at this time he wanted to devour more people. The more people he absorbed, the stronger his fighting power is. And he can also obtain other people's abilities. This can be said to be quite a bug. Now he is doing this. The expression on Mu Chuan's face changed slightly. Although he thought that his fighting power was already very strong, if he let the other party mess around, it would also be quite dangerous. Want to absorb others? Don't even think about it. Mu Chuan teleported in front of Big Buu, and then kicked him out with a flying kick. After kicking him out, he seemed to be able to sense something. The next second he appeared in front of Big Buu. Another terrifying roundhouse kick. When he was kicked into the air, his hands condensed a very terrifying Qigong wave, and when he threw it out, the two Qigong waves merged into one. The terrifying light shone. Everyone couldn't help but close their eyes. The Qigong wave hit Big Buu. In an instant, Big Buu was directly blown to pieces. Only fragments were left. Seeing this scene, Carl and Greta looked at each other. Both of them showed extremely excited expressions in their eyes. We won, we won. That guy is just so. He dared to provoke the boss. He will be tortured to death in a minute. Seeing Big Boo torn into pieces, the two thought that Big Boo had fallen. However, Mu Chuan's words made them feel depressed. It's too early to celebrate now. The opponent has not been destroyed, and he still has a very strong recovery ability. This is just the beginning. Facing the terrifying recovery ability, no matter who it is, it feels particularly tricky. As long as there is no way to destroy it, it will be completely destroyed, then there is no way to kill Majin Buu. That is a real ability like cheating. If he didn't want to have such a terrifying recovery ability, he wouldn't have gone to such trouble to involve so many things. After all, with his strength, if he wanted to win and end the battle, Big Boo would not have appeared at all. Looking at the surging meat in the distance, Mu Chuan sighed slightly. Originally, he really wanted to push himself to the limit. Only when he reached the limit and tried to break through, it would be of the best use. But, time waits for no one. The opportunity seemed to be lost. I originally wanted to find a really strong opponent, but it seems impossible now. Mu Chuan already had a plan in his heart, and wanted to wait until he had reached the limit of Super Saiyan before trying to break through. Break through the 4th stage of Super Saiyan. But, it is difficult for him to find an opponent at present. Either they are much stronger than him, or they are not strong enough to be his opponent. Even Majin Buu can't be his opponent without absorbing stronger people. But he didn't dare to let Majin Buu grow anymore, otherwise even he felt a little dangerous. You know, Majin Buu's potential is very terrifying. It's a pity that he couldn't reach the limit. But he didn't want to stagnate because of this. He had a hunch that if he didn't improve his combat effectiveness as soon as possible, he might not have any choice at that time. Therefore, he didn't plan to wait. While Majin Buu was still recovering, a huge ball of light gradually condensed in his hand. This ball of light was an artificial moon. For senior fighters, basically everyone could have an artificial moon. After all, this is their capital for desperate efforts. Of course, for today's Saiyans, this is an even more necessary skill, because not everyone can become a Super Saiyan, so most Saiyans can only use the power of the giant ape. This is already a very powerful way to save lives. On the side, Carl and Greta were stunned for a moment. Because they saw the artificial moon made by Mu Chuan, they couldn't think of it. What on earth is the boss going to do? He doesn't want to use the power of the giant ape, does he? He is now in the form of the 3rd stage of Super Saiyan. How can he use the power of the giant ape? Don't joke, this may make your original advantage completely disappear. Boss, what on earth are you doing? The two couldn't figure it out, and they wanted to step forward to stop it. But it was too late. Mu Chuan threw the artificial moon into the air. Then he shouted, "Close your eyes." The long-standing trust made Carl and Greta close their eyes quickly even if they had many doubts in their hearts. They didn't want to become giant apes. Although the combat power has increased a lot, it is quite inconvenient because the body is too big, and it will easily fall into a passive position. Besides, if you can become a Super Saiyan, why do you want to become a giant ape? They don't understand. When the artificial moon was thrown into the air, Mu Chuan looked up at the sky without hesitation. As he looked at the artificial moon created by himself in the sky, a huge heartbeat suddenly sounded. Then a violent force gushed out of his body. His body slowly grew bigger. The face that was originally very handsome has now become a pointed monkey face, just because he is in the 3rd stage of Super Saiyan. Even if it becomes a giant ape, the color is golden and the hair is also quite long, just like a long-haired statue. It was incredible to watch. Roar. A roar that shook the earth. The entire demon world was shaken. The original fighting power was already very terrifying, and now it has turned into a giant ape. And it is a form that people have never seen before. When Carl and Greta opened their eyes, the two couldn't help but open their mouths, although they already knew that Mu Chuan wanted to turn into a giant ape. But they never thought it would turn out like this. Is this really what a Saiyan can turn into? Oh my god. Is this really the boss? Why did it turn into golden color? And it looks so wild. The breath I feel from it feels wild. What is going on? Is this still the boss? The two were shocked. No wonder they acted so exaggeratedly. It is true that no Saiyan has ever been seen as a golden giant ape. It's like a brand new species. Could it be that it was because of the transformation caused by becoming a Super Saiyan that it became like this? Unimaginable. But no matter what, they felt that in the current situation, their boss's strength was indeed very terrifying. Countless times stronger than the third stage of Super Saiyan. Is this what the boss wants to do? When he is in the Super Saiyan transformation, he directly transforms into a giant ape form, and his combat power is once again it has increased tenfold. Maybe not tenfold, but it has incredible power. What kind of amazing power is this? Even they can't calculate it. As for why it has become like this, they don't know much. They only see that the golden giant ape in the sky has been venting. It seems to want to destroy the entire demon world. Majin Buu, who has recovered a little, is torn apart again in the impact again and again. It can be said to be particularly miserable. Looking at the crazy golden giant ape in the sky. No one dares to get close easily. Because the fighting in the demon world is too intense, the demon world has long been destroyed. The entrance to the demon realm was destroyed, and the situation in the demon realm could also be sensed in the Milky Way. The first to sense it was the king of the North Realm. After all, he was quite familiar with Mu Chuan's aura. As soon as he felt the appearance of Mu Chuan's aura, he followed the aura before he finished receiving it, and finally saw that it had turned into a golden giant ape. He was stunned. Not to mention how terrifying this form is. The power emanating from his whole body is already extremely frightening, and the Milky Way is trembling because of it. Is this really the power that a person can emit? What's going on? How did Mu Chuan become so terrifying in such a short time? Is it because he turned into a giant ape? Oh my god. This is too scary. I have never seen anyone emit such a terrifying aura. It is simply shocking to the world. With this terrifying aura, it feels like it can destroy the entire Milky Way. And it feels a little bad. Quote, if Mu Chuan had become a golden giant ape and was a little more rational, the North King would not have felt bad. It really felt like he had lost his mind. In theory, a senior warrior would not lose his mind after turning into a giant ape. But Mu Chuan's actions were too shocking to the world, not to mention that the aura he exuded was too violent. Not only was it violent and terrifying, it also made everyone think that possessing such violent power would naturally lead to losing their minds. This is a very normal situation. So everyone panicked. The distant horizon of the universe. A flash of lightning flashed through the mind of King Kai, and he immediately looked towards the direction of the demon realm, with a very shocked expression on his face. This is the breath of Majin Buu. But Majin Buu's breath seems to have become particularly weak, and there is also a very terrifying breath in it. Who is this? King Kai had been searching for Majin Buu for a long time, but he was not able to find him. However, the sudden breath now made him stunned. Majin Buu actually woke up. And he was in the demon realm. What made him feel most unbelievable was that Majin Buu seemed to have experienced a very violent storm, and his breath became extremely weak. Could it be because of that powerful breath? King Kai was amazed. But no matter what, Majin Buu, who had been searching for so long, had woken up without knowing it, which made him feel very surprised. No matter who that breath was. He wanted to take a look and see what happened to Majin Buu. Jebet, let's go to the demon realm now. Demon realm. Jebet was a little confused. Because he had no way to sense the existence of Majin Buu, he was quite confused about the sudden order of King Kai at this time. King Kai Shin said, I have already felt the breath of Majin Buu, and he appeared in the demon realm, but it's a little strange at the moment. Things are a little beyond expectations, we have to go and take a look. Jebet was stunned when he heard this. There was a trace of fear in his heart. You know, Majin Buu is very terrifying and is called the most terrifying demon king in the universe. Now he has awakened. What's going on? But Jebet felt that King Kai's performance was a little puzzling to him. Why didn't he react too much, but was full of doubts? With such doubts, he led King Kai and teleported to the demon realm. Because the journey was too long, and he didn't sense the breath of Majin Buu at all, he could only reach the demon realm first. When they arrived in the demon realm, they first felt a very violent breath. This breath was not only violent but also barbaric. Even they all changed color when they heard it. What's going on? This breath is so terrifying, could it be Majin Buu? As soon as he arrived, Jebet was shocked. He never thought that someone's breath was so terrifying, even exaggerated to this extent. My god. Is this trying to destroy the demon realm? When Jebet exclaimed, King Kai frowned and said, this is not the breath of Majin Buu. Although Majin Buu is very scary, he can never reach this level. With such an exaggerated breath, it is easy to destroy the entire galaxy. What is going on? Jebet. Lord King Kai, you said this is not the breath of Majin Buu at all. Where is the breath of Majin Buu? King Kai shook his head. I only sensed it around that violent breath, but I don't know what happened. Let's go and take a look. To be honest, Jebet was very panicked. He actually had to go to such a dangerous place, but he didn't dare to disobey King Kai's order and led King Kai towards that huge breath. When they landed nearby, they saw a very violent gorilla from a distance. It even destroyed the entire demon world beyond recognition. The gorilla was golden all over, and the breath on his body had already caused the space to shatter. Quite terrifying. I could already feel the pressure from a distance. Even the Kaioshin had a crazy change of expression on his face at this time, which was quite exciting. Jebet opened his mouth wide. He was a well-informed person, but he was frightened by the scene in front of him. When did such an exaggerated creature appear in this universe? It was reported to be terrifying. In this way, Majin Buu looked much cuter. Kaioshin. Suddenly, Jebet's voice sounded, but at this time he stuttered. Huh. Kaioshin was a little confused and looked over in the direction of Jebet's gaze, and then there was a moment of dullness on his face. What did he see? That seemed to be Majin Buu, right? Not sure, take another look. This time he was finally sure. This was definitely Majin Buu. With the relationship between him and Majin Buu, has been dealing with him for such a long time that he can easily recognize him. The reason why they didn't dare to confirm it was because such a powerful Majin Buu had become so miserable at this time. Now his body has become fragmented, and he wants to restore his body from time to time, but it is broken into pieces in the violent energy. Decomposed again and again. It looks quite miserable. When has Majin Buu ever been so miserable? They couldn't imagine that Majin Buu would be so embarrassed. This is too outrageous. It simply shattered their cognition. No. Impossible. How could Majin Buu become so weak? And this is too miserable. Jepitel couldn't believe it, but when he saw that figure, it was indeed the Majin Buu who once frightened them. Now he is silent too. The Kaioshin was also like this, just quietly watching the extremely violent golden giant ape in the distance. If he continued to destroy like this, he didn't know whether he would destroy the demon realm. After the demon realm was destroyed, would it be the Milky Way next? Unimaginable. But they knew that even such a powerful Majin Buu became so embarrassed in his hands, so there was really no one in the entire Milky Way who could be his opponent. Silence was the theme of this moment. Majin Buu was quite desperate at this moment. He couldn't escape, and he couldn't fight. It can be said that he had never encountered such a situation. He used to dominate the universe, and no one could hurt him. He was completely abusing others. As long as he wanted, he could play with everyone, but he never thought that there would be such a miserable day. He was so embarrassed that he didn't know what to do. After all, he was in a dilemma. Even if he wanted to absorb it, he couldn't do it, not to mention that there was no strong person around to attack him to absorb it. As for the crazy golden gorilla, he didn't even dare to get close to it. After all, there was still a little distance between them, but even so, he looked so embarrassed. If he got closer, it would be really miserable. Where on earth did this monster come from? Majin Buu roared inwardly. It's not that he didn't want to fight, but the gap in strength was too great, so great that it made people feel desperate. It's impossible to even escape. When everyone was shocked, the golden gorilla that was wreaking havoc suddenly stopped. Then the golden gorilla slowly turned around and glanced at everyone present. Because of the crazy destruction just now, everyone present had already moved far away. Even Carl and Greta ran as far as they could at this time. Facing the crazy gorilla, no one dared to approach easily, let alone try to wake up his reason. It was indeed that the terrifying fighting power was too exaggerated. Who dared to approach? Maybe he would be killed in an instant. Therefore, everyone hid far away. Seeing the strange behavior of the golden gorilla, everyone was stunned, because this behavior seemed to be superior wisdom. It was totally different from the violent state just now. What's going on? Could it be that he has regained his sanity? Carl said doubtfully. Logically, it is impossible for a senior warrior to lose his sanity when he becomes a gorilla. But the golden gorilla that Mu Chuan turned into was a little different. Not only was the appearance completely different from the usual Saiyan, but he also turned into a gorilla when he became a Super Saiyan. This was even more different. Therefore, the two of them had no idea what was going on, but now seeing the actions of this golden gorilla, they had a hunch. Their boss had regained his sanity. In fact, the facts were not what they imagined. Mu Chuan did not lose his sanity at the beginning. The reason why he kept destroying was because he was full of irritability in his heart. His power suddenly expanded too terrifyingly, making him unable to control it. There was no way, so he could only vent and control the powerful power he now had. Otherwise, even if he really became a Super Saiyan 4, he would not be able to control it for a while. In order to avoid trouble later, he now vented all his rage, coupled with the control of the sudden surge of power. Now he feels that he has almost mastered it, and there is a force stirring, and he can change into human form at any time. And on this basis, he will complete an unprecedented huge transformation. Under the gaze of everyone, his body slowly began to shrink, and the originally huge golden giant ape turned into the size of a human over time. It's just that the golden light that just emitted turned red at this moment, and the hair also turned red. With red fluff all over his body and a hint of wildness on his face, he looks particularly oppressive. Even if he doesn't deliberately emit a breath, everyone present feels a strong pressure. That feeling makes people want to kneel down. It has produced a huge change from his original image. This scene fell in front of everyone present, and they were completely stunned. King Kai and others didn't know what kind of change this was, but they didn't reflect it too exaggeratedly. Just feeling that the aura surged again after changing from a golden gorilla to a human form, this is too exaggerated. On the contrary, the rest of the people, especially Carl and Greta, after all, they are Saiyans, and they know Saiyans very well. Seeing their boss become like this, they were completely dumbfounded. Boss, why did the boss change his appearance? From a gorilla to a human form, wouldn't it change back to the original? Why did it change its appearance? And this appearance is too oppressive. Terrible, even more exaggerated than the golden star just now. Carl and Greta looked at each other, unable to look directly at Mu Chuan now, but whenever they sensed it, they felt that the huge force made them unable to look directly. Terrible. The other side of the distant universe. On the North Kai King planet. The North Kai King also saw everything at this moment, and at this time he could no longer describe his feelings in words. In addition to the breath that made the entire galaxy tremble. This change in appearance also surprised him. What's going on? Why do Saiyans always change? This is terrible, this is terrible. The Saiyan who changed his appearance seemed to become more terrifying, and his face was full of ferocity. Isn't this a regression? Quote. King Kai of the North knew something about the Saiyans, but he didn't know why the Upper Fanged people had become like this. He was in a panic. Whether it was good or bad, he didn't know, and he couldn't help but feel uneasy. Compared to everyone's panic, Majin Buu was completely terrified. Too exaggerated. Even he felt a little trembling at this breath. He would rather face the golden gorilla than this shrunken human. Although the size has been reduced, the energy contained in it is unmatched by everyone, and no one even dares to look directly at it. At this moment, he didn't even dare to move. He was completely scared. No matter how arrogant he was in the past, it was because he had never encountered the powerful man now saw Mu Chuan. He already had a clear understanding of his position. If he was only a little stronger than him, he would still find ways to absorb it, but when it was so strong, even he felt that he could not match it. Absorb. Absorb with your life. Everyone did not dare to breathe. Mu Chuan felt the abundant power in his body, and he was already intoxicated. Too powerful. If the power in his body was very violent when he turned into a golden gorilla, then the power in his body now is wild. It is countless times stronger than the golden gorilla. However, he can still control it easily, which shows that it is not just a matter of increasing strength. Is this the fourth stage of Super Saiyan? It is really powerful. This is a realm directly comparable to the Super Saiyan God. Extreme violence. Quote. After successfully becoming a Super Saiyan 4, he thought that at least he had the capital to survive in this world. Compared to the God realm, that was already very powerful. What's more, his normal combat power was 900 million, and after becoming a Super Saiyan 4, it increased by 4,000 times, which was incomparable to the Super Saiyan 3. 3,600 billion combat power. 3.6 trillion combat power. This is just the initial state, the first time entering the Super Saiyan 4, and when he fully masters it, there is still room for improvement in combat power. It can be seen how powerful he is at this moment. Mu Chuan glanced at Majin Buu in the distance. Majin Buu had suffered continuous destruction since he turned into a golden gorilla. Now he was too lazy to even recover. After all, every time he recovered, he would be destroyed by an even more extreme and violent force, which consumed a lot of his strength. Although his recovery ability was very terrifying, it also made him feel very weak. Mu Chuan said disdainfully, "You should recover quickly, otherwise I don't mind killing you now." As soon as his voice fell, the other party instantly reorganized all the pieces of meat and gradually turned into the original appearance. But at this moment, his face became extremely ugly. Where was the evil at the beginning? I didn't expect that there would be a person like you in this universe. This really surprised me. You are really strong. There are many things you didn't expect. Who am I? There are many people stronger than me. Mu Chuan said indifferently, and what he said was not wrong. There are many people stronger than him. Not to mention the god of destruction who has been sleeping, even the angels are particularly terrifying, and there are many more terrifying characters. Those are the real strong ones. Although he can now transform into a Super Saiyan 4, it is as if he has just received an admission ticket. Want to be on par with those strong ones. That is indeed not enough. Majin Buu said that he didn't believe it, but no matter whether she believed it or not, Mu Chuan didn't want to explain too much. Hurry up and spit out Fat Buu, otherwise I don't mind making you really disappear. Mu Chuan looked down at him. Majin Buu's face was tangled. Although he didn't know why the other party released Fat Buu, this might be used as a bargaining chip. But just when he was about to speak, Mu Chuan seemed to know what he was going to say and immediately blocked his mouth. Don't tell me other nonsense. I just want to see Fat Buu within 3 seconds, otherwise I don't mind letting you destroy it. Mu Chuan showed a sneer on his face, his expression was extremely wild, and he didn't give the other party a chance to hesitate. He condensed a red Qigong wave with his hands. The Qigong wave became stronger and stronger, and even condensed a very terrifying power. If this Qigong wave attacked, it would be unimaginable how terrible the injury would be. Maybe Capricorn was destroyed. 3. 2. Just read out 2 numbers. Big Buu spit out Fat Buu instantly. In an instant, the whole person has changed. The originally round figure suddenly became skinny, and Evil Buu appeared again, but this time his breath became weaker. Because more power has returned to Fat Buu. When Fat Buu appeared, a complicated expression appeared on his face. Although he was indeed absorbed by Evil Buu. But he saw everything in the outside world, so after being spit out, the expression on his face was extremely complicated. But Mu Chuan didn't say a word to him at all. He looked at Evil Buu and smiled slightly, but this slight smile made Evil Buu tremble all over. He immediately had a bad premonition. But before he could make any move, when the destructive light flashed, it immediately enveloped the entire Evil Buu. He still wanted to use his super recovery ability to recover, but Mu Chuan had anticipated all this and didn't give the other party a chance at all. He used all his strength right away. With all his strength, he condensed a very powerful Qigong wave, which swept across the scene and completely evaporated all the broken meat. No trace left. The opponent had no way to recover, which could be said to be crushing the opponent with the most powerful strength. When the smoke dissipated, the evil Majina was completely dead. Fat Buu opened his mouth several times, but in the end he didn't speak at all. After a long time, Fat Buu said, "According to the previous agreement, I have lost, so I will follow you next." Fat Buu was quite direct. Since he had made a bet at the beginning, he would not break his promise, and the reason why he could see the light of day again was because the other party helped him. Otherwise, he might follow the evil Boo and disappear into ashes. He was also reasonable. Seeing that Boo was really willing to follow, Chuan showed a sincere smile on his face, although his fighting power is very exaggerated now. It is quite easy to control Majin Buu, but he doesn't want to do it at all. After all, he is a capable subordinate. Besides, if they stay together, they can get a lot of useful skills. He doesn't want to miss it. At this time, two figures flew over from a distance. These are Karl and Greta. After the battle, they rushed over without stopping, but because the distance was too far, they didn't arrive for a while. When they arrived, the matter was over. But they didn't care about the battle at all. Now they just looked at Chuan with surprise. As if they met for the first time. That look is simply incomprehensible. Karl and Greta looked up and down, and even kept circling around. After all, their boss looked so handsome and extremely wild. There is a unique wildness of Saiyans. But how did it change? Could it be that after becoming a Super Saiyan, he turned into a gorilla, and then returned to human form to have it? They couldn't be sure, but they had to look at Chuan's image of the fourth stage of Super Saiyan with admiration. Isn't this too handsome? I never thought that he would be so handsome after the transformation. Although Super Saiyan is not bad, it is simply incomparable to this look. And this breath is so strong. Boss, how did you change? Greta couldn't help asking. They could only barely reach the Super Saiyan, naturally they didn't know Chuan's operation. Therefore, they were extremely curious. Chuan didn't hide anything about this, it can be said that he knew everything and said everything. He said all the known information together. This also made them feel like a deflated ball. Because he actually got to the limit of the Saiyan, wouldn't he have to reach the third stage of Super Saiyan? They haven't even reached the full power of the first stage of Super Saiyan, so it is unlikely that they can possess the ultimate power of a Saiyan. It seems that we have no chance. Karl and Greta were slightly depressed. They knew that there was such a way to become stronger. But they thought that they had no way to reach this level unless they practiced day and night. But it was also very difficult. But emotions came and went quickly. Even if they couldn't reach this level, their boss had reached it. This is definitely a big thigh. Chuan also took in their emotions and then comforted them. You two don't have to be depressed. Even if you can't become a Super Saiyan 4, you have other ways to improve. There is no need to worry. Really? Greta exclaimed. Chuan nodded. Not to mention that with their current foundation, if they practice for a few more years, they can definitely reach the second level of Super Saiyan. As for whether they can reach the third level, it depends on the individual. Even if there is no way to reach it, you can also take the path of God. This is also a good way. All roads lead to Rome. After Chuan subdued Majin Buu, the matter finally came to an end. However, everything that happened just now has already caused a sensation in the entire galaxy, not only the violent breath of the very violent golden giant ape. There is also the breath emitted by the fourth-level Super Saiyan. Everyone was suppressed and breathless. Even Gyula and others fell into silence at this time. They had just released the Phantom Demon Hildegang. Originally thought that they would be able to rule the entire galaxy, but they never expected that at the moment of their success, such a terrifying breath came from afar. Even if they had the most advanced detectors, they had no way to detect how exaggerated the combat power was. The most advanced detectors exploded one after another. Let their hearts sink to the bottom of the valley. Looking at the Phantom Demon Hildegang, they can now fully control it, but there is no trace of joy in their hearts. Hoi looked at the silent crowd. Are you scared? Don't worry, as long as I, the magician, exist, more phantoms can be created. Will it not be easy to dominate the entire galaxy? As long as you can be obedient, everything will be easy. The Phantom Hildegang was liberated. Hoi also stood up. After all, with powerful subordinates, he can naturally stand up straight. But when he said this, everyone present looked at him silently, and no one spoke, but when he turned around, a destructive ray of light flashed. It directly blasted his head open. He couldn't die anymore. There was no room for maneuver at all. Then Gyula picked up the flute that controlled the Phantom Hildegang. This kind of person actually wants to control us. I don't know what's in his mind. If we don't need him to help us find this phantom demon, why do we need a clown like him jumping around everywhere? Ha! That being said, after saying that, Eula was also silent. Looking at the powerful phantom demon Hildegang, it must be said that the magician is really good, and he can make the statue into such a powerful existence. But at the beginning, they did think that if they controlled this Hildegang, they could rule the Milky Way. At the same time, they could also eliminate the Saiyans. I just felt an unprecedented breath. At that time, they were suffocated by that breath, and it was only after the breath disappeared that they gradually recovered. But even so, they still had a psychological shadow. How can they fight? Bojack said sullenly, what should we do now? Although I have obtained the powerful power of the Phantom Man, the two auras I just had were too strong. I don't think the Phantom Man can resist him, and he may not be able to defeat him in seconds. When saying this, Bojack felt quite aggrieved. After all, his strength was much weaker than that of the Phantom Man. They were not in the same league at all. But the Phantom Man, who was so powerful, became so insignificant under the performance of the two auras just now. This made him lose confidence. However, while Bojack was speaking, Eula did not speak from beginning to end. His fists clenched involuntarily. How is it possible? How could it be the breath of that stinky monkey? It's fake. It's definitely fake. How could he have such a terrifying power? Even the entire galaxy is shaking. Eula muttered to himself. His voice was very subtle, and if you didn't listen carefully, you wouldn't know he was talking to himself. Bojack heard part of it, and sometimes he was still suspicious. Eula, what are you doing? You're not really scared by that breath, are you? Although that breath is indeed very terrifying, as a person who is determined to rule the entire galaxy, how could he easily surrender? At least we now have a very powerful general, which is a good start. Bojack said while comforting. Eula didn't buy it, and shook his head slightly. You don't understand. If it's just a very powerful existence, then we won't be affected as long as we stay far away. But the two breaths just now made me feel unusually familiar. It's like a destined enemy. I thought it was an illusion, but after the perception just now, it was indeed them. A group of stinky monkeys with tails. When he said the last sentence, Eula gritted his teeth completely. That expression was very ferocious. After all, for the Saiyans, that was an enemy engraved in their bones. Now that he saw that the other party had such a powerful existence, he couldn't help but feel a little decadent. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't catch up with the other party. And it was getting farther and farther. This is no longer as simple as ruling the universe. That is a real destined enemy. If the other party discovered his traces, he might be destroyed. He dared to guarantee that this was absolutely true. This made him angry and frightened. In the end, he didn't dare to stay and took the phantom demon away. He went straight away. Bojack and others followed closely behind. After formally conquering Fat Boo, there was no need to stay in the demon realm any longer. Moreover, after their battle, the demon realm had become extremely broken. Those demons did not dare to complain. They had been hiding in some corner for a long time. Let's go back to Earth directly. Mu Chuan did not want to waste time, and now he wanted to use time to adapt himself to the fourth stage of Super Saiyan. But as soon as his voice fell, Carl and Greta said at the same time, but our spaceship has been destroyed, and there is no way to go back now. They both looked a little sad. When they were being chased, they didn't care about so many spaceships. They were destroyed after sending out the distress signal. At that time, they only wanted to escape. As for whether the spaceship would be destroyed, that was no longer something they could consider. Now they felt that they had encountered a problem. Mu Chuan looked indifferent. I didn't say we must make a spaceship. All of you hold my hands and I will take you back to Earth. Carl. Greta. The two were stunned for a moment. What does this mean? Don't be dazed. Hurry up. This is a skill I learned on another planet. It can be moved instantly through the induction of Qi. Although the demon world is a little far from the Earth, as long as you can sense the Qi, you can also reach it in an instant. Let me see if I can find the Qi. Mu Chuan ignored Carl and Greta who were stunned. At this moment, he put his hands on his forehead and quietly sensed the Qi. It may be very difficult to sense other people's Qi, but the rest of the Saiyans are now on Earth. Their Qi is not weak. After sensing for a while, Mu Chuan's eyes suddenly opened. Got it, it's Ahena's energy. Everyone hold my hand. Carl and Greta were half believing and half doubting, but they didn't dare to ask questions, so they just held on tightly. Fat Boo was not suitable for him, and he also held on. In an instant, the four people disappeared. Wait. Just when they disappeared, King Kai and Jebet just reacted, but they just said their words, and the others disappeared. Disappeared. King Kai was shocked. Not only did he have incredible fighting power, but now he actually had such an outrageous method. How did he disappear? When he was confused, Jebet on the side suddenly said, "Teleportation, the other party should have mastered teleportation. When he disappeared just now, he should have used teleportation, and it was a super long distance movement. If I don't know their specific direction, I may not be able to catch up with them." Jebet's face was solemn, with a little shock on his face. They are in the realm of God after all, but why are the mortals in the lower world so powerful? Majin Buu seems so fragile in their hands, not to mention that he is powerful, but he can even teleport. This is really outrageous. He is so strong. King Kai frowned. Facing such a powerful human, he wanted to make friends with him, and the other party brought Majin Buu with him. So he wanted to talk to him. Is there no way to track their current location? No way, but we can look for King Kai. He should know, right? After all, it is in his own territory. This place is in the North Milky Way, which is governed by King Kai of the North. After receiving Jebet's reminder, King Kai nodded and was about to contact King Kai of the North, but before he opened his mouth, a voice rang in their ears. "Lord Kaioshin, you don't have to ask me specifically. I have already paid attention to this matter. Now I will tell you where Mu Chuan is. But you must remember that although he belongs to the Saiyans and is called a fighting nation, he is indeed a kind-hearted person. I must not conflict with him." King Kai of the North repeatedly ordered at this time. Although there were not many intersections, according to his understanding and observation, he already knew what kind of person Mu Chuan was. Eat soft but not hard. If the attitude is tough, it may cause dissatisfaction to the other party, and it will not look good at that time. What's more, Mu Chuan is so strong. Hearing the instructions of King Kai of the North, King Kai nodded. I know. In fact, King Kai also knows that the other party has such a huge aura. It can be said that there is no one in the entire galaxy as his opponent. Such a terrifying Majin Buu couldn't last a few rounds in his hands, so how dare he be so high and mighty? Even if he has a higher level of life, he put down his pride in the face of such a powerful and unreasonable guy. He told Jebet the location he got, and Jebet sensed it silently, and finally disappeared in the demon world. The North King was a little uneasy when he saw this scene. He knew best that all gods would have some pride in their hearts, and if this pride and arrogance were used on the Saiyans, that would definitely be the end. It's a blessing, not a disaster, but a disaster can't be avoided. I hope they can talk well, and don't break down the talks, otherwise the entire galaxy can't support their battle. He was a little worried, but he, a small official, was useless. He had no strength and no status, so he could only worry about nothing. After a sigh, the North King turned his gaze to the earth. He was completely shocked by this sight. Has the earth changed so much? It's no wonder that the North King reacted like this. Even Mu Chuan was stunned when he landed on the Temple of Heaven. The Temple of Heaven had already changed beyond recognition. It was not in a mess, but became more sci-fi, and was filled with many sci-fi technologies. In the center, a very large screen was set up. On the screen, the most powerful fighters on the entire Earth were arranged. If it were in the original work, the current Earthlings were not strong. But because of the arrival of the Saiyans, it has already been on the agenda in advance. There are also hundreds of combat powers. The most powerful has reached 1000 combat power. Even in the universe, it is also a strong race. This is still the smallest change. The biggest change is the Saiyans who have already changed slightly. From this point of view, all Saiyans can become Super Saiyans. No. That's not right. It's just Ahena, the others are just mimic Super Saiyans. But their normal combat power is relatively strong. As long as they transform, they can also feel extraordinary combat power. The general normal combat power is 2 million. Under the increase of the mimic super race, the weakest one has already had a combat power of 60 million, which is also a powerful force in the universe. But among the Saiyans, it is the bottom. Today, the Saiyans have not forgotten their roots, and have always remembered what Mu Chuan said, and they have been practicing all the time. But the growth rate is slow. However, the combat talent has increased, because they not only exercise, but also fight with the strong in the universe. With the advancement of technology, they have competed with many artificial people. I also provided them with various data. The combat power of artificial people is also different from the past. It is strong to a certain extent. Mu Chuan saw this scene when he just landed in the Temple of Heaven. All Saiyans are fighting with an artificial person, and the combat power of the person who is looking for can basically reach 20 million. This is a very exaggerated value. But when I think of Dr. Gero, he will definitely keep a hand, and he may have created hundreds of millions of artificial warriors at this time. But Mu Chuan didn't care. He was very happy to see this scene. His investment was not in vain. Oh my god, it's been a while since I came back, and such a big change has already happened. And everyone's strength has increased so much. Why do we feel that we have improved the least after wandering around? Greta widened her eyes when she saw the scene in front of her, and couldn't help but exclaimed. It really blinded his eyes. Then why did you run away in advance? That's because you don't want to stay at home. You want to make a living outside, and only through real fighting can you improve your combat effectiveness. But he never expected that the combat effectiveness of these brothers who were guarding the house would also improve very quickly, and some people's improvement was even faster than them. It's just that they have been unable to master the skills of transforming into a Super Saiyan, otherwise it would definitely not be possible to have only this little combat power. It made them jealous. When Greta's voice sounded, it immediately attracted everyone's attention. After all, although Mu Chuan used teleportation to teleport back to Earth, his aura was extremely concealed, and by the way, it also enveloped everyone. If they hadn't revealed their own flaws, no one would have discovered that they had descended on the Temple of Heaven. Many androids and Saiyans looked over. The androids showed a puzzled expression, and then revealed a hint of hostility. Instead, the Saiyans waved their hands to stop the androids' actions. Don't move. These are all our own people, and if you dare to take a step forward, then we can't guarantee that you can still be intact. After saying this, seeing that all the Saiyans had begun to look fierce, they immediately softened. And each one was extremely excited. They rushed directly to Mu Chuan's side. Boss, you are finally back. We missed you so much, even though our fighting power is already very terrifying now, and it is something we never dared to imagine before. But without you, boss, I always feel a little uneasy. And it has been so long, and there has been no news from you, which makes us worried. The Saiyans talked one after another, expressing their thoughts one after another, and they were very emotional. Carl watched silently from the side, and his face also showed a look of relief and peace of mind. This is his home. The place where his race is located. Although there are only a few Saiyans left, all of them are like family members. Even if they travel far away, they will still miss each other. On the contrary, Greta was unbalanced and shouted on the side. Hey! Hey! You guys are going too far, aren't you? Don't you see that Carl and I are right next to you? Although you haven't seen the boss for a long time, I can understand your feelings. After all, we felt the same way when we first saw the boss. Do you have to be so heartless? You actually ignored us. Don't we two big families have a sense of existence? Faced with Greta's words, everyone rolled their eyes. How dare you say that? It's good enough that I didn't push you to the ground and blow you. You didn't even want to defend your home and ran away when we weren't paying attention. It's simply unreasonable. Faced with the condemnation of the crowd, Hirui also gradually bowed down. Seeing the smiles on everyone's faces, Mu Chuan fell silent, and a faint smile gradually appeared on his face. All the Saiyans present were initially identified as evil Saiyans. Their aura was indeed it was the same, but perhaps it was because of the destruction of planet Vegeta. All Saiyans became particularly united. They even helped each other. After everyone exchanged greetings, Carl and Greta also told the story of their journey and experience, just like telling a story. All the Saiyans present were greatly surprised. It felt like they were surrounded by dangers, escaping again and again, and even became a Super Saiyan in the end. This is really enviable. Seeing the eyes of everyone, Greta finally straightened his back, although most Saiyan's normal combat power was slightly higher than his. But he could become a Super Saiyan. That was his advantage. Mu Chuan waited until everyone had exchanged greetings, then he looked around and couldn't help but sighed. All of you have become stronger and grown up. If you are at your level now in the universe, you will definitely be a big devil. If you join forces, even the former Frieza will not be enough for you to fight. This is a real Super Saiyan army. All the Saiyans felt a little embarrassed when their boss praised them. They had heard Greta brag about it. The boss has gone further and further in the direction of Super Saiyan. They have not yet mastered the first stage of Super Saiyan transformation, but the boss has already reached the fourth stage of Super Saiyan. Just think about how terrifying it is. It also made them excited. At least they saw the sunny road in front of them. As long as they work hard, it is not impossible to complete it. At this time, Mu Chuan suddenly said, "Where is Ashana? At the beginning, I sensed his aura, but now I don't see her. What's going on?" When Ashana was mentioned, the smiles of all the Saiyans present were slightly silent, and everyone looked at each other. Seeing everyone's reaction, Mu Chuan, Carl and others had a bad feeling in their hearts. No, something went wrong, right? The sudden silence made the laughter and joy at the beginning freeze. Mu Chuan frowned slightly, and he had a bad premonition in his heart. Greta was impatient and couldn't bear it at all, so she said directly, "Did something happen? Why do you look like that? Did Ahena get into trouble?" Everyone present immediately had this thought. One of the Saiyans was named Adam, with a signature bald head. He looked particularly ferocious and his size was surprisingly large. But at this time, Adam said nervously, "In fact, many things happened on Earth during the time you were away. Although we have several doctors, these doctors have clear division of labor, whether in training, combat or logistics, they have all done quite well. It's just that Dr. Grow is a very ambitious person. Even after developing many powerful artificial people, he has never revealed his ambition. He is still secluded, which also gives us an illusion that he is honestly developing more high-tech products. It was not long ago that he joined forces with another weird guy from somewhere, conducted secret research, and developed a very powerful artificial person. This artificial person is called number 10 by them." When Adam said this, Mu Chuan basically knew the follow-up. It's nothing more than Dr. Grow, who has a powerful artificial person, has a different heart. He didn't really surrender in the first place, but was just overwhelmed by the powerful force. Now that he has a powerful force, he naturally has other ideas. But who is he joining forces with? It shouldn't be Dr. Belabe, otherwise how could there be other artificial people around now? These may be artificial people within the controllable range. Mu Chuan didn't say anything, and Carl and Greta beside him did the same, but their brows were tightly knitted together. His expression became more and more fierce, and the aura on his body began to surge. The surrounding Saiyans were all terrified. They hadn't seen each other for a while, but they became so powerful. If it was the boss, it would be fine, but why were they so terrifying? Many Saiyans present didn't understand. Adam glanced at Mu Chuan quietly, and seeing the boss's expressionless face, he was also particularly uneasy. That Android 10 is very powerful, with unlimited energy, and also has the ability to absorb energy and recover. The combat power is terrifying. Even we are no match for it. Ahena can already become a Super Saiyan, and her combat power has exceeded 100 million. But they still lost in that battle. And those two guys opened another channel and disappeared in front of everyone. Ahena swore from that time that she would definitely avenge her previous shame. Dr. Belabe is now helping Ahena find Dr. Grow's trace. Adam and the other Saiyans added one sentence after another, which made them really understand what happened. It wasn't Ahena who had a problem. It was betrayal, but this was still a relatively good result. After listening to all the information, Mu Chuan secretly breathed a sigh of relief. As long as nothing happened to him, it would be fine. As for Dr. Grow, he knew that the other party was an ambitious person and would never give up. But he didn't expect the other party to move so quickly and defected before he came back. Originally, he wanted to take this opportunity to give the other party a good beating, but now it seems that it is really unnecessary, and the other party also defected quickly to get rid of his control, right? Although it was expected, it was still quite infuriating when it happened. Fortunately, there was no loss of life. Adam was stunned at this moment. The same was true for the other Saiyans. Originally, they thought that the boss should be quite angry, and even vented his anger on them, but no matter how they thought, they didn't expect that their boss would be so calm. Sensing their inner thoughts, Mu Chuan said lightly, "I know Dr. Gero better than you do. He is an ambitious person himself. It's not easy to control him, unless you have absolute strength, and I haven't returned to Earth during this period, but you don't have absolute strength. I naturally let the other party get in. There is a loophole, but it doesn't matter. At least there are no casualties. As long as you are not in trouble, everything can be handled." Quote. Seeing such a big thing happen, the boss still cares about their feelings and even pays attention to their safety. The Saiyans were moved. Karl and Greta were indeed very angry at this time, but they were not too worried about Dr. Gro. Although the strength shown by the other party is very strong now. Stronger than Super Saiyan. But so what? If they hadn't seen their boss fight, they would have been a little worried. Since they saw the battle in the demon world, they only thought that the other party was just a frog in the well. After such a defection, it was simply out of the light road. If he was found, no matter what results he researched, the final result would be extremely miserable. Now they just want to see Ahena. After all, escaping from their hands, for a person with a strong sense of responsibility, it would definitely be quite self-blame. Therefore, everyone was already prepared in their hearts. Let them come. Arriving at Dr. Belabay's laboratory, I saw Ashana and Dr. Belabay doing research. They wanted to find out where the passage led to. Although the other party escaped, there was evidence in the large amount of data and videos. So that they could collect evidence. After a few people came in, the busy two stopped. Ashana couldn't help but reveal a trace of shame on her face when she saw Mu Chuan. They asked her to guard the house, but she didn't do it well, and let the other party leave in a swagger. No matter who it was, this kind of traitor was very disliked. What about them? But the traitor was not caught, and the other party was at large. This is my incompetence. I can't guard the house, but the traitor can't be caught. How can I face the boss now? Ashana's heart was turbulent. Just when she wanted to speak, Mu Chuan interrupted her first. It's okay, it's just a jumping clown. But Asena wanted to say something else. However, Mu Chuan had already understood Asena's determination when he entered Dr. Belabay's laboratory. Otherwise, the other Saiyans would not have shown that expression. But in his opinion, I was completely unnecessary, just a Dr. Gero. Even if he had developed a man-made man with infinite energy, it would not be a big deal for him now. At least he now has the combat power of the 4th level of Super Saiyan, and ordinary opponents are not taken seriously by him at all. His defection has nothing to do with you, because he is ambitious. Even if he doesn't betray now, he will do it later. It's just a matter of time. Don't put all the blame on yourself. Of course, based on my understanding of him, I basically know where he went. After entering Dr. Belabay's laboratory, Mu Chuan had seen the video that Dr. Belabay had been playing, and the disappearing channel through various analyses. When he saw this scene, he immediately determined where Dr. Gero had gone. He acted as if he didn't care, but he was nervous for no reason because things seemed out of control. What was going on? That seemed to be a passage to hell. If the other party really had a passage to hell, then things would be a bit suspenseful. He really didn't expect the other party to have such an operation. However, he just had this idea, and the next second he saw a strange figure. Who is this? Dr. Meow. How could he be here? And he's still alive. Wasn't he killed when Baby was eliminated? How could he still be alive? And now he's actually mixed with Dr. Gero. He felt a sense of crisis. After all, in the original book, these two guys combined to create a very terrifying artificial human. It's just that it requires the fusion of two No-17s. Now it's different. Let these two guys combine together, and just go to hell. What kind of chemical reaction will happen? Even he himself doesn't know. The inner tension was not shown. Mu Chuan's calmness gave everyone a boost of confidence. Even Dr. Belabay was very curious about where Dr. Gro and others had gone. Dr. Belabe also felt that he was too careless, and now he dared not say a word. After all, it was his own fault. Facing the expectant eyes of the crowd, Mu Chuan said lightly, "Which passage leads to hell? They may be in hell now." Hell. This, are you kidding? Everyone present was stunned. For them, hell is a very unfamiliar word. At this time, Mr. Bobo and the gods stood up. In fact, there are many levels in the universe, including the mortal world, the heavens, and hell. Different people exist in each level. The heavens can also be called the gods' realm, where people who live are those who have reached the level of gods. As for the rooms, it is easier to understand. It is the universe we live in. And hell is where all dead creatures or races will go. With Mr. Popo's introduction, all the Saiyans present also understood what the so-called region is. But this also made them frown. A place where dead creatures will go. So does Dr. Gero and others' actions count as death in a sense? That is incomprehensible, but it feels extremely shocking. Is there such a place? I thought this universe was already very large, but there are so many levels. This is something we can't reach. So doesn't that mean there is no way? Have you found the traitor? Ahena felt very frustrated at that time. She thought she could pursue the other party after knowing where he ran to. But she never expected. The other party actually went to that kind of place. How could she catch him? Mu Chuan did not make a random promise, because what he said would give confidence to everyone present. If he could not do it, it would greatly undermine others' self-confidence. It might even cause a certain decline in momentum. So he needed to figure it out. Has Dr. Gro defected for a long time? For a while. After this reply, Mu Chuan finally smiled. In that case, what should we do? What are you doing? Improve your strength as soon as possible. I think that guy will take revenge soon. Quote. Not long. Mu Chuan is very confident. Because the other party doesn't know about his return at all, and the other party has little experience, as long as he has a slightly stronger power, it is absolutely impossible for such an ambitious person to stay in hell like this. If they are given a chance, they will never give up. Then there will be a good show to watch. Faced with Mu Chuan's words, everyone present wanted to get to the bottom of it, but seeing that their boss was not going to say anything more, they all shut their mouths. But the thoughts in their hearts were indeed improve your combat effectiveness as soon as possible. You can't fall behind. The same goes for Ahena. Dr. Belb found that there was really no way to deal with Dr. Gro now, so he could only choose to trust Mu Chuan, and he also knew where the other party was, so there was no need to waste time. Seeing that all the Saiyans were discussing how to quickly improve their combat effectiveness, Dr. Belb slowly came back to his senses at this time. In fact, if you really want to improve your combat effectiveness, I have a very good thing here that can develop your potential. This is a combination of Dr. Gro and my research during this period, but because I have to find Dr. Gro's trace, it has been temporarily shelved. It can come in handy now. Quote. After Dr. Belabe finished speaking, he took out what he had studied. It was a very large machine, but although this machine seemed particularly complicated, it looked like a massage chair. The shape was very similar, and everyone became curious when they saw this scene. Mu Chuan was no exception. I also wanted to see if this machine would be useful to him. If it was useful, the full power combat power of the 4th stage Super Saiyan would definitely make Dr. Gro despair. This is a potential development machine that will develop all the potential in the current stage. Each person can only develop it once within a period of time. After development, unless there is a certain accumulation, if you want to use it a second time, there will basically be no significant improvement. And the energy required is also very huge. I wonder who of you wants to try it. After Dr. Belabe finished speaking, he was quite confident in his research. He stared at the people present with his eyes sparkling, expecting everyone to give him more accurate data. I'll do it. Asena stood up first without waiting for others to speak. She is still upset about Dr. Gro's defection, and has never been able to find Dr. Gro. Now that she knows where Dr. Gro might appear. Then, if she wants to avenge her previous shame, she can only improve her combat effectiveness. Otherwise, what if she finds it? Dr. Belabe's research is just right. Everyone present looked at each other, and no one spoke to stop her. They have clearly felt Asena's determination. Seeing that no one objected, Dr. Bellaby fixed Asena on the potential development machine, and then operated on the main control screen. When the debugging was completed, Dr. Bellaby glanced at Asena. Are you ready? I'm ready at any time, and we can start. Then let's feel what it feels like to have our potential developed. As soon as Bellaby finished speaking, the whole machine started to run, and it was not as complicated as everyone thought. This is just using another kind of energy to pull a person's potential, but it is not to develop all of it. Develop slowly according to each person's physique, otherwise if it is developed too much at once, then the person may not be able to bear it. The screen shows this as a percentage, now it is 50%. As the machine runs, a very terrifying aura bursts out from Ahena. Originally Ahena's normal combat power has reached 3 million, and now it is even more exaggerated, breaking through 4 million combat power. Looking at the combat power tester on the side, all the Saiyans present opened their mouths wide. My god! Is it really so easy to improve combat power? It has increased by 50% at once, and it seems that there are no side effects. This made everyone present eager to try. After all, they can improve so much at once, how can they resist the temptation? Now since the combat power was inexplicably improved before, their improvement can be said to be negligible. After all, there are few strong people who can match their fighting power, and it is difficult to improve without a life and death battle. Now it's good. With this machine, it's twice the result with half the effort. Mu Chuan watched it from beginning to end, and now he is sure that this machine is definitely similar to the ability of the Great Elder of Namek. However, the disadvantages are not clear at present, but it can improve a person's potential and instantly improve combat power, which is quite terrifying. This made him have to re-examine Dr. Bellabe. Sure enough, as long as technology can keep up, it will also feed back. Mu Chuan is very grateful for some of the previous operations. After all, he did not make much contribution to the research of alien technology before. It's just finding the right person and handing over the technology of Frieza's army to him, which has the current technology. Logistics supplies are in place. Now it can improve combat effectiveness. Mu Chuan is not sure whether he can use it, but it doesn't matter anyway. At least the Saiyans are getting stronger and stronger. Drive Bellabe, can this potential development machine be developed to 100%? Will there be any drawbacks? It can be developed to 100%, but it depends on the individual's willpower, and developing to 100% does not mean that the person's potential is exhausted. It only develops the potential hidden at the current stage. There will be no drawbacks if the current potential is fully guided out. As soon as Dr. Bellabe answered the question, it was because there was no way to announce it in time before, otherwise the Saiyan's combat effectiveness would be even stronger. It would not be caught off guard by Dr. Groh. As if hearing Dr. Bellabe's words, Ahena's slightly painful face suddenly became resolute, and she said a sentence with difficulty. Increase the power. Everyone looked at Mu Chuan after hearing this. Ahena said with difficulty, I need strong strength, to catch the traitor. Mu Chuan took a deep look. Increase the power. If there is any problem, give Senzu Bean treatment as soon as possible. Dr. Bellabe nodded. Regardless of the current technology or the magical Senzu Bean, if the injury is not very outrageous, it can basically be healed. In this way, there is still a breath. Then it can be saved. So there is no need to worry. The people present were a little worried at first, but now they suddenly showed excitement. How didn't they think of it? At this moment, they knew that they had to do the same when they arrived, otherwise how could they keep up with the main force? As the power of the potential development zone increased, Ahena couldn't help but become a Super Saiyan, and she roared like a beast. But her combat power was inevitably enhanced. The normal combat power was increasing. When the normal combat power reached 6 million, the first stage of Super Saiyan reached 300 million. The combat power was off the charts. Everyone was particularly excited to see this scene. The combat power broke through a level. But then, Ahena fainted as if she couldn't bear it. Dr. Bellabe hurriedly checked it, and then called an assistant to put Ahena in the nutrition chamber. Maybe the body can't adapt all of a sudden. Now absorb some nutrients and wake up soon. Who's next? With a successful case, everyone seemed particularly eager to try, and they all rushed forward. Dr. Belabe developed everyone's potential one by one. It can be said that this made the combat effectiveness of all Saiyans reach an unprecedented height. Even Karl and Greta couldn't wait to come forward at this time, and they also improved. And the improvement was very terrifying. After seeing this scene, Mu Chuan was more determined to improve technology and there must be no lag. I don't know if I can improve. You know, I have improved once now, but after such a long time, my potential should not be fully developed, especially at this stage. It's not impossible to try after everyone has tried. Although Mu Chuan was quite confident in his own strength, Dr. Gro and Dr. Miao were mixed together, which made him feel a little uneasy after all. What's more, they ran to hell. Wouldn't this create hell number 17? Even if they had deviated from the original story, those two guys would still create a very scary guy. If his strength didn't improve, he wouldn't feel safe. When Mu Chuan was thinking this, a violent breath suddenly interrupted his thoughts. This is Super Saiyan. Mu Chuan's face flashed with joy for no reason. Although most Saiyans have achieved the mimicry of Super Saiyan, this is an incomplete transformation after all. The multiple of the improvement is not high. It is not as strong as the increase brought by the first stage of the real Super Saiyan. But he did not expect that after these people improved their potential, they had become Super Saiyans unknowingly. This is a pleasant surprise. They have become Super Saiyans. It seems that they will not fall behind next. After Ahena's improvement, Karl and Greta followed. Their combat power reached 500 million and 400 million respectively, which can be said to be quite terrifying. But for them, this is just an improvement in combat power. After that, the Saiyans who could not become Super Saiyans, their improvement was to cross the class. Reached another peak. This surprised everyone. Dr. Belabe himself did not expect that this potential development zone actually had such ability. Even he himself, the inventor, could not think of it. After thinking for a while, Mu Chuan said, "It is possible that the normal combat power has reached the peak, allowing them to break through the Super Saiyan without knowing it. Besides, they have been practicing all the time, but they are still a little short of the heat, as if they are only one step away. Otherwise, no matter how much they develop their potential, they can't become Super Saiyans." Mu Chuan said his guess, and everyone present agreed, although it is said that Super Saiyans need extreme emotions. But now their emotions are also very high, but unlike anger, fear, they are more joyful and excited. It's like a natural outcome. Seeing a successful case, the other Saiyans were also excited. Since they can turn people into Super Saiyans, can't they also succeed? It's exciting to think about it. After that person came down, the other Saiyans couldn't wait any longer. Really got on the potential development machine. The next thing was exactly as everyone guessed. Everyone who got on the potential development machine had their potential developed and their normal combat effectiveness also improved. Some people could hold on to 100%, while others could barely hold on to 90%. This can be said to vary from person to person. But in any case, the improvement was indeed quite terrifying, bringing them to another level, and most importantly, everyone became a Super Saiyan. All members are real Super Saiyans. Okay. That's great. I've always been worried about whether you can transform into Super Saiyans, but now I don't need to worry too much. You are the best. Mu Chuan felt quite relieved. As long as they can become Super Saiyans, then their road will be smoother and they will continue to become stronger. The road has been opened to them. It depends on whether they can grasp it. All Saiyans gradually regained consciousness, and they were all very excited at this time. After breaking through another level, their normal combat effectiveness can also be improved. This is different. When they were not yet able to become Super Saiyans, their normal combat power increased slowly, but when they really improved to the extreme and transformed into Super Saiyans, everything was different. It was as if the blood in all the cells in their bodies was boiling, as if telling them that their strength could be improved again. How could this make the fighting nation who aimed at fighting not excited? Seeing that everyone was excited, Mu Chuan himself was also eager to try. Could he improve himself? He didn't know, but he also wanted to try it. If he could improve, that would be great. Now his full strength has reached 3.6 trillion combat power. If he improves a little bit, his combat power can reach an incredible level. His one point is different from others. Dr. Belabe and everyone present looked at Mu Chuan at the same time, and there was a hint of expectation in their eyes. Mu Chuan, do you want to give it a try? You are the king of Saiyans after all. Judging from your current combat power, it must be quite terrifying. As long as it can be improved a little bit, it will be a profit. Dr. Belabe's words made all the Saiyans present look forward to it. They stayed there. Their boss is their king. If they can improve, they will have more confidence, not to mention that they have always wanted to know how strong their boss is. And how far are they from it? Carl and Greta were also excited. They knew how strong the boss was, but they didn't know the specific value. Boss, hurry up and take a look. We also want to see if we can improve. Let's see your full strength, boss. As everyone talked, Mu Chuan himself was also a little excited, so he didn't have any reservations and got on the potential development machine directly. Dr. Belabe didn't turn on too much power for safety reasons. He took the lead in turning on 10% of the power. Mu Chuan is different from other Saiyans, mainly because he is too strong. Even if he doesn't have a correct consciousness, everyone present knows that his strength is unmatched by everyone. Therefore, they didn't dare to turn on too much power. But it was only 10%, and the value that appeared made them stunned. A series of numbers made them unable to count at all. Tens, hundreds, millions, tens of millions, hundreds of billions, trillions. When they counted to the end, everyone was stunned. It actually reached 300 billion, and it was almost about to break through 400 billion combat power. 3,960 billion combat power. How exaggerated is this? When the combat power increased, Mu Chuan couldn't help but become a Super Saiyan 4, which showed the most terrifying combat power. Possessing a dominant combat power. Everyone was shocked. After all, in their cognition, it was only a few hundred million combat power. Even if they thought about it more, at most they only thought that their boss had tens of billions of combat power. But this is too exaggerated. Carl and Greta had been prepared from the beginning, but when they saw the real number, they were still extremely excited. Too exaggerated. Because they were frightened by this fighting power, the other Saiyans did not pay attention to Mu Chuan, who had become a 4th-level Super Saiyan. A 10% increase can bring such a terrifying combat power. Oh my god. How powerful is the boss? Everyone stared at the display screen, because the series of numbers on it made them hold their breath and dare not breathe. The more they looked, the more they felt suffocated. Too strong. But then, Dr. Belabe suddenly turned his head and looked at Mu Chuan, which surprised him. Why did he suddenly become red-haired? And fluff grew all over his body, looking full of wildness, even different from ordinary Saiyans. What's going on? Isn't this another form of transformation? Dr. Belabe asked such a question. Carl suddenly said, this is indeed another form of transformation of Super Saiyan, but it is still too far away for us. As soon as these words came out, they immediately attracted the curiosity of everyone present. What kind of form is this? Carl, tell me what's going on. Since you came back with the boss, you must know something, right? Tell me, tell me. All the Saiyans present were looking forward to it. With such a terrifying fighting power, it's obvious that this form must be extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. Seeing that all the Saiyans were so curious, Carl was also ready to do some popular science. Otherwise, if you always think that Super Saiyan 1 is the most powerful form, you will be out of date. As a fighting nation, we must strive to be the best and not be too comfortable. I don't know the details, but the boss has shown it before. In addition to the first, second and third stages of Super Saiyan, this is the 4th stage of Super Saiyan. And the transformation process is quite unique. It is not as simple as we imagined. When you become a Super Saiyan, you have to transform into a giant ape. And you have to stay rational in the situation of the giant ape, so that you can become a real Super Saiyan 4th stage. There are many mistakes in this. In our opinion at the time, even the boss might lose his mind because his combat power is too strong. The boss is at least a senior warrior, and we. Carl was silent when he said this, because everyone present knew that all of them were lower-level warriors. And before planet Vegeta was destroyed, they were all prisoners. If it weren't for the boss who released them, they might have been destroyed with planet Vegeta. This is a favor, and they still remember it. Because of the difference, when they heard about the transformation of the fourth stage of Super Saiyan, they felt disappointed for no reason. Perhaps they simply could not reach this point. It seems that we don't have to think about it, because we usually want to transform and become giant apes. It is because we have mastered the power of giant apes that we have regained some sanity, but it is useless. They feel disappointed. But they also know that this may be a development direction, but even so, they are not disappointed. There is no way to become a fourth stage Super Saiyan. But you can try to become a second stage Super Saiyan. Now they have only taken the first step, and they are still far from the second step, but as long as they have a goal in mind, it is not impossible to achieve it. Instantly, everyone has fighting spirit. Dr. Belabe listened and operated at the same time, and did not really put down the work in his hands. You must know that the King of Saiyans is still on the potential development machine. If it is forgotten, it will be a problem. Following Dr. Belabe's operation, the power began to increase slowly. From the initial 10% to the current 20%, each time there is a huge leap. When everyone saw the numbers jumping on the display, even their hearts suddenly stopped for a few beats. It was really too scary. Each increases in units of 100 million, and their strongest combat power is only this much. Increase of hundreds of billions of combat power at a time. All the Saiyans present didn't know if they could reach this level, but their boss had such a terrifying combat power every time he increased. Terrifying. Too strong. I don't know if we can reach this level in our lifetime. If we can reach hundreds of billions of combat power, we can basically walk sideways. So strong. Everyone sighed. It was already precious for them to have such a strong combat power now. From the combat power of thousands of lower-level warriors to this point, what is there to be dissatisfied with? But they don't know. Their potential has been improved long ago, otherwise it would be very difficult to reach the current height with the potential of their lower-level warriors. They can basically reach the intermediate warriors at present. It's just that they haven't come back to their senses for a while. The stereotype makes them think that their potential is very low. Everyone just watched quietly. Ashana's eyes showed determination. She thought that if she could also have such a strong combat power as the boss, then she wanted to catch Dr. Grow. Wouldn't it be quite easy? At that time, no one could slip out of her palm. Just when everyone had different thoughts. The power reached 100%. Mu Chuan's combat power also reached 7.2 trillion, and the combat power broke through the critical point. But the next second, under the surprised eyes of everyone, the combat power was still increasing. It didn't stop because of this. This scared everyone. It's still increasing. The power has reached 100%, and it's still increasing now. What's going on? Will something go wrong? A Saiyan said worriedly. Dr. Belabe didn't know what was going on, and quickly started to operate it. He saw that no matter how he operated it, the machine didn't stop. At the same time, the percentage was still increasing. 110%, 120%, 130%. As the percentage increased, Mu Chuan's combat power was also increasing crazily, and the speed was so fast that everyone was stunned. This was completely different from what they experienced at the beginning, and it even exceeded their expectations. Why can it keep increasing? Is this the difference between their potential and the boss's potential? Suddenly, when everyone was at a loss, the machine really stopped. The combat power did not increase anymore. Mu Chuan slowly opened his eyes, but at this time his combat power had reached 10 trillion. 10 trillion combat power. Is this the potential that has been developed at this stage? It's really powerful. 10 trillion combat power. Mu Chuan slowly got up from the potential development machine, and truly felt the terrifying power all over his body. At this moment, he felt that not only his combat power had increased, but he was also more proficient in the power he now possessed. It can be said that he was very skilled. This surprised him a little. He didn't expect that technology could reach this level, allowing him to master such a powerful power all of a sudden. You know, his combat power has doubled now, but even so, he didn't feel the slightest bit of discomfort. This surprised him very much. Such a powerful force, but there is no discomfort at all, it's amazing. Dr. Belabe said with a smile on his face, Of course, because although the potential development machine opens up the potential in the body at once, it does not mean that these powers do not belong to you. It is precisely because these powers are hidden in your body. After being guided by the machine, they have indeed become much stronger, but how can you not adapt to your original power? It is indeed a very safe way to increase your strength in this way. Mu Chuan felt very magical, but he quickly accepted his current strength. Then he told everyone to adapt to their own combat power and then make other plans. Since he knew that Dr. Gero had fled to hell, he could never leave it alone. No matter how powerful he was, he could not leave the enemy outside. Otherwise, he might capsize at any time. Even if he had an innate advantage, the advantage could be surpassed at any time, especially in the Dragon Ball world. Any advantage is not an advantage. After sending the others away, Mu Chuan started training with Majin Buu. Now he really wanted to acquire the skills of Majin Buu. The usual sign-in only gained combat power, and this improvement was negligible for him. It was not a big improvement. He was not very satisfied with the improvement in combat power. However, he hoped to get a stronger improvement. Although Majin Buu's skills would not give him a huge improvement, they could give him a means to save his life. Even when facing a god, this skill is absolutely terrifying. It was because of this understanding that Mu Chuan wanted to acquire such a skill, so that he would not have any worries when he went to fight against Dr. Gero. This day, after a long period of training, Majin Buu's combat power also became stronger, and he also truly adapted to life on Earth. Mu Chuan finally got what he wanted and truly acquired the skills of Majin Buu. Ding! Sign in successfully. Reward Majin Buu with his super recovery skill. After hearing the long-lost system prompt, Mu Chuan felt more confident. No matter what kind of strong man he faced, his confidence could easily solve the problem. Buu, let's stop practicing today. Wait a minute, ask Adam to go shopping with you. When Majin Buu heard this, he immediately became more energetic, although he could improve his strength by practicing at ordinary times. But how could improvement be more important than eating? Now hearing this sentence, it was simply the sound of nature. Adam has been Majin Buu's personal bodyguard recently. He is not responsible for his strength, but just to prevent others from colliding with Majin Buu. Of course, another level is to let Adam act as a guide and let Majin Buu to taste the delicacies of the whole earth. Mu Chuan, you are so nice. Majin Buu threw down such a sentence and flew directly to the Temple of Heaven. This made Mu Chuan laugh. Majin Buu is still relatively simple after all, especially Fat Buu. With a little guidance, he will definitely become a righteous man. After Majin Buu left, the expression on Mu Chuan's face gradually began to converge. Now that he has obtained Majin Buu's skills, some things should be dealt with. It's time to deal with the traitor. Lord North Kai, I think you can hear what I say, right? I can hear it. North Kai has been paying attention to the earth. It can be said that he dare not be careless at all. After all, King Kai is always paying attention. It's like the boss is watching, but you don't watch what's going on. He dare not be careless. It can be said that he is available at any time. Mu Chuan spoke again. I want to go to hell, and I have to take a few people to hell. I wonder if it's okay. If the fruit doesn't work, then you can discuss with the King of the Worlds and see how to operate it. Quote. Please don't refuse, Lord North King of the Worlds, because there are two dangerous people in hell, and they may be doing very scary experiments now. If they succeed in the experiment, we don't know how much trouble it will cause at that time. Now we can solve it as soon as possible before they cause big trouble. Mu Chuan was talking about Dr. Gero and Dr. Miao. Once those two crazy doctors are combined, it will be quite terrifying. No one knows what kind of terrifying artificial human they will create, not to mention that they are still in hell now, and there are many materials in hell. These materials will bring their technology to a peak. If Mu Chuan didn't want to be safe, he would have implemented it long ago, and there would be no need to delay it until now. When the North King of the Worlds was struggling, the voice of the King of the Worlds suddenly sounded in his mind. North King of the Worlds, just do this for him. This is also for the good of the underworld. Not to mention that his current strength is not something we can provoke, and there is also the terrifying Majin Buu beside him. And now the two crazy guys he mentioned may not be simple either. Let him solve them. Otherwise, if he causes trouble in hell, it will be the end. Quote. The voice of King Kai echoed in King Kai's mind. King Kai was stunned for a moment, but finally agreed. After all, King Kai had already spoken, how could he refuse? Then he quickly contacted King Yama, who was the one who could really lead to hell, but it was a little complicated. After solving all this, Mu Chuan was a little eager to try. This time he was ready to lead all the Saiyans to hell together. For no reason, let them really try high-intensity combat. There are many masters in hell. Each one is very terrifying. They are all some terrifying existences accumulated over the years. Even after so much time, they are still very terrifying. But Mu Chuan was thinking about training soldiers, but he didn't know that a plan against him was being quietly implemented. Hell. Ever since Frieza entered hell, he wanted to avenge his previous shame and practiced madly. He already had a very terrifying talent, and now he can not only maintain his original appearance, but also improve several forms. This can make him have very strong combat power. First of all, the first one is the perfect silver form, which is 1,000 times stronger than before. Of course, this is not his most powerful power. There is another one that he has explored a little, but he has not fully mastered it. That is the golden form. Now he can turn himself into a golden form, but it is not a perfect form, but only makes part of his body turn golden. The combat power has reached 20 trillion. This kind of strength has gradually made him stand out from his own team in hell, and at the same time he has ruled the entire hell, but even if he rules hell, he can't do anything. There is no way to get out of hell. But just a while ago, 2 old men came to hell, and they also brought a relatively powerful guy. They actually said that they could open a passage between the human world and hell. Frieza, who originally had little hope, slowly began to look forward to it. If he could really connect to the human world, wouldn't he be able to take revenge? Therefore, Frieza and Dr. Gero officially cooperated. They also had a common goal. Kill Mu Chuan. Drive Gero, how is your research going? You promised me that you would open the passage to hell. If you can't succeed, then you know the consequences. Even if King Frieza went to hell, he would still be a hegemon. No one could make him surrender. The whole hell became his territory. There were countless younger brothers. Among them, there were many strong men with hundreds of millions of combat power, which were stronger than when he was alive. He didn't care much about the artificial people brought by Dr. Gero and Dr. Mu. Even though he knew that the other party was researching, he was not afraid of being occupied by his position. He just wanted to open the passage to hell as soon as possible. Dr. Gero said without raising his head, please rest assured, the passage to hell will be opened soon. The current strength of this person is still a little short of finding people. As long as his strength is strong enough, he can resonate with the artificial people in the world, and then he can definitely open the passage to hell. And we can really get out. They will get out sooner or later. Even Dr. Gero doesn't want to stay in this dark hell. But when he didn't develop a very powerful artificial human, he was still extremely uneasy, especially when others were much stronger than him. When he was on Earth, some Saiyans were pressing on him. Now there is Frieza again, which makes him extremely dissatisfied. Although he said this is also a way of shirking responsibility, he is also taking this opportunity to create his own powerful artificial warrior. Dr. Mu also participated in it. Frieza seemed to see through his thoughts, and a playful smile appeared on his face, but he didn't urge him, and didn't even expose the other party's thoughts. Drive love, hurry up. I don't have that much patience. I can't wait to tear those stinky monkeys apart. If it weren't for them, how could I have entered this dark hell? I really look forward to how shocked they will be when they see my powerful and heroic figure. I really look forward to it. After Frieza finished speaking, he didn't give Dr. Gero a chance to speak. Because he had said everything he should say. If he kept delaying, he wouldn't mind letting them have a taste of his own methods. After Frieza left, he didn't slack off, but worked hard to practice, since he knew that his talent was so strong but was wasted. Frieza never wasted any time. It was precisely because of his enthusiasm that he was able to master such a huge power in a short period of time, but even so, he was not satisfied. At least he had to have a complete golden form, otherwise he would not be at ease. If Mu Chuan knew that Frieza had already undergone a complete and earth-shaking change because of him, he would definitely be surprised. Frieza is a genius. But this genius has been wasting his potential. Now that his potential is truly realized, he will have a very terrifying fighting power. Witnessed Frieza's departure with his own eyes. Dr. Gero and Dr. Meow looked at each other. It will succeed. It's just a little bit short. As long as we can make the Hell man-made, we can also mass-produce them. Each combatant will have the same combat power as his silver form. With such a terrifying warrior, what will be the difficulty in dominating the earth? But there is still a lot of gap. Just like this, we will still be controlled by others. Quote. The two doctors talked recklessly, because at this time they and Frieza were just cooperating. There was no subordinate relationship. Of course, they didn't want to be suppressed all the time. They had truly witnessed Frieza's power, which made them feel dissatisfied with the androids they created. It should be quite terrifying. It was more than enough to deal with those Saiyans. But the thought of a terrifying Frieza suppressing them made them extremely dissatisfied, and crazy thoughts and ideas appeared one after another. They only saw that the androids they created were getting more and more terrifying. From the defected number 10 at the beginning to the current android number 27, each android is very strong, each has its own unique characteristics. Now they also have a very terrifying legion. However, the high-end combat power is still a lot worse. Now they are making No. 28. As long as it succeeds, it can open the passage to hell, and at least it will have a combat power of hundreds of billions. This is an epic-making artificial human. Time passed day by day. In the blink of an eye, a month passed. The two crazy doctors gradually completed all their ideas, and also applied them to many hell creatures. The hell creatures themselves have existed in the region for a very long time. The strength is also very terrifying. When they combined everything, hell number 28 officially left the cabin. This is a warrior who looks extremely strong, with a head full of white hair, long hair to the waist, like ladies, and the terrifying sense of oppression makes people involuntarily take a step back. Only when he saw Dr. Gro and Dr. Meow, his eyes were slightly relieved. My creator, I am number 28, number 28 from hell. A voice without any emotion sounded, and hell number 28 glanced around, and everything around him was in sight. Dr. Gero looked at the perfect work in front of him, his eyes full of satisfaction. This is his most perfect work. Even Dr. Meow felt that this was a very successful work, even more perfect than Baby. Although Baby has strong growth potential, it is nothing before it grows. On the contrary, the initial combat power of hell number 28 in front of him reached hundreds of billions, which can be said to be a very terrifying existence. Moreover, he can also improve his strength by absorbing energy, and the people who are absorbed and assimilated by him will also continuously improve his combat power. This is a man-made by combining various technologies. It can be said to be the pinnacle of man-made man. Too perfect. This is the perfect android warrior. It's definitely possible to communicate with the Hell channel through him, and the creatures of Hell can't absorb it wantonly after all. But if we can enter the mortal world, then Android 28 can absorb it wantonly to improve its combat effectiveness. By then, even if it's Frieza, we can easily deal with it. The two had high hopes for Hell 28, and at this time they spread the news that they could open the Hell channel. Soon, Frieza came over. Oh wow. Is this your most perfect work? It's really a very powerful warrior. It actually has a combat power of 200 billion, not bad. It seems that you have researched an incredible work. The voice rang out before the people arrived. Frieza knew that this time he was going to open the Hell channel, so he summoned all his most capable subordinates, who were all newly recruited brothers in Hell. The combat power of the weakest reached tens of millions. Even in the human world, it is also very terrifying, but it seems to be the weakest among this group of brothers. There are many with hundreds of millions of combat power. They all have detectors on their faces. This is the most advanced detector that can detect the combat power value immediately. The limit can reach 100 trillion. Naturally, the true combat power of Hell number 28 can be seen at once. A full 200 billion combat power. This is very terrifying. Even if Frieza turns into a silver form, it seems that he is not the opponent of the opponent. He has to take a closer look at these two doctors. They are really good. Not to mention the first researched Hell number 28, just say that the previous artificial people are also very terrifying, and their abilities are even more varied. With these powerful warriors, it can be said that counter-attacking the human world is quite easy. Dr. Gero glanced at Frieza. King Frieza, we are truly ready, all the android warriors are ready. I wonder how the king is preparing. This king is ready at any time, and I have brought all my warriors here. Frieza said indifferently, as long as he can really return to the human world, everything is not a problem, as for whether these subordinates will follow him. He doesn't care at all. Seeing that Frieza is ready, Dr. Gero and Dr. Myu fixed Hell number 28, and then operated the machine to connect to the human world through Hell no. 28. This is their method. As they operated on the main control screen, one program after another was issued, and a terrifying force gradually began to spread around. Hell number 28 jumped up. The airspace was broken in waves, as if it had become fragile all of a sudden, and a ray of light shot over from a distance. Seeing this scene, everyone in Hell felt very excited. Could they really escape from this dark hell? Once we escape, we will be truly alive. How can this not make people excited? As the energy of Hell number 28 became more and more terrifying, it seemed as if a mirror was broken in the air, and even gradually began to appear a very huge black hole. At first it was only the size of a sesame seed. Then it became the size of a watermelon, and then it suddenly became 50 meters in diameter. The speed was so fast that everyone was a little unresponsive, but seeing this black hole, everyone's face showed excitement. Is this the passage to hell? After passing through here, can we go to the human world? Frieza suppressed his inner trembling, and his voice also trembled a little. It can be seen that although he looked calm on the surface, he was not like that in his heart. After all, they are all truly dead people. If they pass through this hell passage, then they will be resurrected. This is something they dare not even think about. Frieza also wanted to cooperate with them because he knew that these two did not have such means. Now it has finally come true. Dr. Gero was also excited. Success. We finally succeeded. Not only did we create Hell number 28, but we also connected the artificial people from the Earth through Hell number 28. Now this hell passage has been opened. The horn of counterattack has been sounded, what are we waiting for? Quote. Dr. Gero rushed out first. He didn't give anyone a chance to hesitate. Following closely behind were a large number of android warriors, all of which were created by him. And each android warrior was completely obedient to them, and their combat power was very terrifying. Seeing Dr. Gero and others enter the hell passage first, Frieza gradually floated up and also began to fly towards the black hole. All the strong men of hell. At this moment, a cruel and playful smile appeared on their faces. They had been tortured in this hell for too long, and they could hardly remember how many years it had been. The inner distortion was no longer something that could be simply described. As one after another of the Hell Legion passed through the black hole, they will all appear on Earth. After Mu Chuan's potential was improved, his combat power had reached a very strong level, but he did not stagnate because of this. He found that he could not transform for a while, and his normal combat power could not be improved. But he did not want to waste time. So he came to the North Kai King planet. He did not ask the other party for advice, just leisurely practiced, and he also signed in a lot of skills during this period. Kaioken. Spirit Bomb. These are all very powerful skills. Especially Kaioken, with his current combat power, although it cannot be doubled directly, it can also have a great amplification effect. This gave him a lot more means. The western capital of the Earth. It was the peak time for people to come and go. No one noticed that a black spot appeared in the sky. The black spot slowly spread. After only 10 minutes, the black spot had become as big as a football. It was even slowly spreading around. Suddenly, one person looked up at the sky, and a puzzled look gradually appeared on his face. Strange, why is there a huge black hole in the sky? Is it a crow? But it doesn't look like it. He felt quite puzzled, and then took out his mobile phone and used the camera zoom function of the mobile phone to look at the black hole in the sky. Wanted to see what was going on. When he saw it clearly, a little shock suddenly appeared on his face. The sky is broken. At this moment, he had seen the situation in the sky clearly. It was not what he guessed, but a real black hole appeared. And according to his observation, the black hole was slowly expanding at this time, which made him terrified. He shouted out in a hurry. No, no. A black hole appeared in the sky and is slowly expanding. What is going on? Isn't this the end of the world? As he shouted, everyone was attracted by his voice and looked up. Then everyone showed a look of shock. What is going on? They felt a sense of crisis for no reason. Before they could react, the black hole suddenly expanded and became as big as a basketball court. Whoosh 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 whoosh. Figures flew out of the black hole one after another. Everyone had a very terrifying aura, as if they had crawled out of hell. Ha ha ha. I finally came out of that dark place, the human world. What a nostalgic taste. This person was the evil army from hell. The evil smile on his face could no longer be suppressed. He looked around and found that all humans were so weak, and at this moment, they showed a panic expression. This made him even happier. What a bunch of weak ants. It's rare to meet you, so I'll give you a gift. He waved his hands, and many qigong waves flew out of his hands. The qigong waves fell like raindrops on the ground. Under the horrified eyes of all humans. Each raindrop was like a bomb, which blew all humans upside down on the spot, and a disaster came immediately. Ha ha ha, ants, enjoy the fear. Accept the fear. The people of this evil army, the wanton destroyers, vented their inner depression. The same is true for the rest of the people who came out of the black hole, as if they could only destroy, and many people really suffered. As these people from hell appeared, one after another, artificial people slowly came out. But these artificial people have been strictly instructed and have received orders. They did not burn, kill and loot wantonly, but just held their arms and floated in the air. Looking down with indifference, one evil figure after another descended. The huge breath made all humans feel very desperate. At the same time, on the temple of heaven, Mr. Bobo and the heavenly god paused, because they had special authority to understand the movements and situations of the entire earth. Just now, they felt a lot of huge air descending, and it lasted for a very long time. If it were just artificial people, they might not be able to detect it at all, but those evil legions from hell, not to mention that their breath was very powerful and evil. Just their unscrupulous destruction. It's impossible not to sense it. It's bad. It seems that a lot of bad guys suddenly appeared, and the breath of many people is slowly disappearing. Mr. Bobo sensed it slightly, and his brows frowned tightly. Not only did he feel the other powerful breaths, but the breath of ordinary people was also gradually disappearing. And it covered the entire Exodus. This made him have to pay attention. The heavenly god hurriedly ran around the temple of heaven. His action also attracted the attention of other Saiyans. Greta asked, God, what happened? Why are you so flustered? It's bad, it's bad. God saw it clearly. They were a group of evil guys who came out of nowhere, and now they are acting recklessly. The entire West City has been destroyed. I don't know how many people died. Are these guys demons? The gods told everything they saw. The faces of the Saiyans changed. How dare someone start a war on their territory? Isn't this a slap in their faces? And they dared to be so arrogant. This is intolerable. Greta and the other Saiyans said immediately, it's outrageous. They dared to run wild on the earth. No matter who they are, they must know whose territory this is. Let's go. Let's teach these lawless guys a lesson and exercise. We haven't exercised for so long, and our bodies feel rusty. Greta said casually, and then went to West City with all the Saiyans. In their opinion, there are not many strong people on the whole earth. They can go out together, which means they respect each other. But when the Saiyans came to Exodus, everything was not what they imagined. Exodus had been razed to the ground. The casualties could not be counted, but a huge black hole appeared in the sky, and people appeared in it continuously. Each person was strong or weak. As for the guys who committed the crime at the beginning, they had already flown away, but looking at the mess now. The Saiyans were shocked. What's going on? How could there be a big hole in the sky? And these evil guys all appeared from that black hole, and their auras have one thing in common, which is very evil. Adam frowned. He felt that this aura was very similar to theirs before, but now they have turned from evil to good. Because of this, when they saw this group of guys, they felt a little disgusted inexplicably. Facing all this in front of them, they didn't know how to start for a while, but their arrival immediately attracted the evil army from hell. After all, the entire western capital was razed to the ground, and now there are still strong men coming, and they seem to be quite powerful. How can this not attract attention? Hey, there are actually a few people with some level here. It seems that this planet is not useless. There are still a few strong ones. Just now I really thought that everyone was a waste. It would be interesting if there were a few ants with stronger strength. A hedgehog head mocked unscrupulously. Because he didn't bring a detector, he naturally didn't know the combat power of the Saiyans. But seeing the raised West City, the power of the entire West City human beings is not strong, even the technology is not high. This makes them preconceive that the people on this planet are not strong. Even if they have a little level, how strong can they be? Can they compare with these guys who crawled out of hell? In their opinion, it is obviously not possible. Because hell is a world where the weak are preyed on by the strong, the weak have long been suppressed, and only the strong can survive. And they are also considered strong. The Saiyans looked at each other, and from the initial shock to now gradually revealed a smile. Cruel smile. It's interesting. This is the first time someone dares to look down on us like this. It seems that it's because we haven't taken action for too long. Although we don't know where these guys came from, if they dare to run wild on the planet we depend on for survival, don't blame us for being rude. All the Saiyans were very angry. Although they are not native to Earth, since they have settled here, they regard this place as their home. But what about these guys? The wanton destruction and the crazy slaughter of humans. This is simply ruining their back garden. How can this be tolerated? Carl took the lead and dodged, appearing directly in front of the opponent. Before the opponent could react, he punched through him. Then he bombed with a Qigong wave. The opponent was really blown to ashes. Carl is relatively stable among all the Saiyans. Even if he faces a relatively weak opponent, he will not waste time. Solve it cleanly. Then he looked at the others. His move seemed to be a signal, and all the Saiyans attacked together, killing everyone they saw. Not long after, all the enemies in the entire western capital had been wiped out. Although these evil legions from hell were not weak in combat power, it was conservatively estimated that they had a combat power of millions. But facing these Saiyans, it was not enough. If their strength was not improved, it would indeed be an obstacle, but with the improvement of their potential and the use of the potential development machine, their normal combat power had reached millions. Even if they did not become Super Saiyans, they could easily crush them, not to mention that they could transform at will. The power of the giant ape. Mimic Super Saiyan. Super Saiyan first stage. Either one would make their strength soar. It was quite easy to deal with these ants, but when they solved these evil legions from hell, there was no joy on their faces. They looked at the black hole in the sky with a serious face. Did you feel it? There seem to be several guys with very strong auras there, and one of them is extremely terrifying. It doesn't feel good. Carl frowned. The other Saiyans also felt it, and that's why they quickly eliminated the enemy, but it also made them retreat. Their current combat power is so strong. It may make them feel threatened, or even irresistible. How terrifying is that? Things are a bit tricky. We shouldn't be able to solve it with our strength. Call the boss. Greta didn't show off. From the aura they felt, they knew that the other party was not their match, and they didn't know the other party's details. This passive feeling is not good. Of course, they had no way to contact directly, so they could only contact the gods as a second choice, and contact the North King through the gods, and then tell Mu Chuan. But after they contacted, the black hole in the sky trembled suddenly. Then they saw countless black shadows slowly flashing from the black hole. There were powerful figures one after another, but they could not feel any aura at all, which made their faces change to varying degrees. Can't feel the aura. Could it be that? Before they could say anything, two familiar figures appeared. Dr. Gero and Dr. Mew. These two crazy doctors actually came out of the black hole. This made them suddenly understand, where did these evil guys come from? Hell. Definitely from hell. Because the two crazy doctors had fled to hell before, and now they have appeared. Either they have unparalleled strength, or they have a certain degree of confidence. The expressions on everyone's faces were very solemn. It seems that things are really bad. The androids made by these two crazy doctors were very scary before, and now they have gone to hell. Who knows how scary the androids they have researched are, and now they dare to appear on the earth in a swagger. They are confident. The Saiyans have no words to say. It is clear that the other party is a traitor, and it stands to reason that the other party should be arrested, but the other party is obviously very confident. Can this really work? Carl observed carefully that the two crazy doctors were followed by two androids, one with red hair and the other with white hair. The two androids gave people different feelings of oppression. Although they couldn't feel the aura, the feeling of oppression was incomparable. Let them be alarmed. When Ahena saw the two crazy doctors, her anger reached a critical value. If it wasn't for the overall situation, the assassin would have rushed out long ago. Just when they wanted to speak, they found that Dr. Gero and Dr. Mew actually dodged and came directly to the side of the black hole, as if they were going to greet someone. This made their pupils shrink, and a feeling of uneasiness suddenly spread. Hiss! A violent purple lightning spread, and the terrifying atmosphere had already spread completely before the people appeared. Those androids who had just come out couldn't help but dodge, which shows how terrifying this force is. Then, all the people in the game saw a scene that frightened them. It was a figure that was so familiar that it couldn't be more familiar. The former emperor of the universe. Frieza. No. Impossible. Hasn't Frieza already been dealt with by the boss? How could he appear again? Roar, 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 roar. Delicious air, this is a day that makes people feel happy. The voice came before the person arrived. Frieza slowly walked out of the black hole, and behind him, followed many warriors from hell, each of whom was very powerful. Even in the Milky Way, they are all existences that can dominate one side. But now they are honestly following behind King Frieza. Full of oppression. Carl and other Saiyans changed their faces. If the other enemies only brought them a certain threat at most, then Frieza was the fear from the bottom of their hearts. Just hearing the voice, they were all panicked. When Frieza saw the Saiyans, a hint of surprise flashed across his face, and then a smile appeared. Oh, it's actually a Saiyan. It's really interesting to meet fellow countrymen here. I miss you so much. I miss you day and night. Finally this day has come. Oh, ho, ho, ho. Frieza's aura surged, and his combat power was increasing at a speed visible to the naked eye, just in a moment. His combat power reached the 100 billion level. The purple light was diffused, and the earth was shaking. All the Saiyans changed color when they heard it, and then all the Saiyans became Super Saiyans. Although it seemed a drop in the bucket, they could only go all out now. When he saw that the Saiyans had all become Super Saiyans, Frieza narrowed his eyes slightly, and his tail couldn't help but twist in the air. It's this annoying yellow light again. For such a long time, I have been thinking about this yellow light day and night. This is also the motivation for my practice. I, Frieza, the genius of the Frozen Demon clan. Because of you stinky monkeys, I have spent so much time in that dark hell, practicing day and night. Finally, I have returned to the human world again. This king has truly returned again. A sharp voice sounded, as if it wanted to pierce the entire space. The people who had just become Super Saiyans were blown away in an instant, and they couldn't even resist. In an instant, they changed from the Super Saiyan state to the normal state. This made them look terrified. Is the gap so huge? After all, they also became Super Saiyans, but now the gap is so big that they can no longer describe it, as if they were facing their boss. Thinking of this, everyone was shocked. The surrounding androids also looked sideways. Dr. Gero and Dr. Mew looked at each other. They didn't want to be submissive to Frieza and always wanted to get out. Especially to return to the human world. But now seeing Frieza's powerful fighting power, they suppressed their restlessness. Even if they used all means, they might not be able to deal with Frieza in the end. Even if they could barely deal with him, it would only be a loss for both sides. This made them treat it with caution. This time it's really bad. Frieza has become stronger again. If it was in the past, we could definitely crush him by turning into Super Saiyans. But now the opponent hasn't made a move yet, and we have been released from the Saiyan state. How can we fight? Greta was extremely depressed. She always felt that no matter how much she practiced, she couldn't catch up. This feeling was too uncomfortable. The other Saiyans also felt aggrieved. Not to mention Frieza, even those warriors from Hell, few of them could deal with them easily. This gap made them realize the truth all at once. As expected, the world is so big that there are all kinds of things, and there are many people who are stronger than them. We still can't relax. Ahena stared at Dr. Gero with her eyes fixed, her anger was like substance. She wanted to eat him alive. But now, because of the victory, her own combat power is relatively weak, and she can't do anything to the opponent, which makes Ahena a little unacceptable. Hate her own incompetence. Haven't you contacted the boss yet? If the boss doesn't come again, we may be dead. The opponent is coming fiercely, and it's not something we can deal with. Someone suddenly asked at this moment. Carl looked ahead, burst into anger, and transformed into a Super Saiyan again. I have asked the gods to contact, but it's not clear whether they have contacted, but we can't rely on the boss for everything. If we rely on the boss every time, then you will never grow up, and you will never be able to stand on your own. Fighting is our mission. Fighting can make us grow, remember that we are the fighting nation Saiyans. Quote. With a roar, he burst out all his emotions. He attacked the soldiers of the evil army in the distance, as if he wanted to fight to the death. He was not stupid and did not go directly to Frieza. That was not something he could deal with at all. Even if it was the androids, he did not deal with them. Those androids were too difficult to deal with, especially because they could not detect the other party's aura at all. This made it even more difficult to grasp the other party's situation. His actions surprised all the Saiyans, but then the rest of the Saiyans came to their senses and rushed forward again. They may not have a chance of winning. But they will never surrender. And they still have senzu beans on them. As long as they don't die, they will eventually become stronger. This may be the best way for them to improve their combat effectiveness. It was precisely because Carl figured it out that he rushed forward without hesitation and used these people as his alchemy stone. Since there is no way to deal with Frieza, then find a way to improve their combat effectiveness and make themselves have a certain strong strength. As for what Frieza wants to do, they can't stop it, so they can only deal with these soldiers. Seeing this, Frieza was naturally bored. He just wanted to find Muchuan. As for the other Saiyans, they were just a group of monkeys in his eyes. Insignificant. Whether it is the current Super Saiyan or the former Saiyan, he can easily crush them. Confidence returned again. Seeing that Frieza did not make a move, Carl and others smiled, and then their chi surged to the peak. All the Hell Warriors who approached them would be swept away by them. But their actions also completely angered the Hell Warriors. They surrounded them in an instant, and the battle became more and more intense. Although the Saiyans were strong in combat, they could not withstand the large number of the opponent. They fell into a disadvantage all of a sudden. They were even more wounded. The battle continued very frantically. If they had not intentionally controlled and did not launch Qigong waves towards the Earth would have been destroyed long ago. But even so, different degrees of damage were seen on the Earth. Every Saiyan was injured, but each injury carried the life of a Hell Warrior. When the injuries became more and more serious, the Saiyans swallowed senzu beans instantly, and both the chi and the injuries were instantly restored, and the combat effectiveness surged again. Basically, there was a 10% increase. Because they were not in a dying state, the increase was not too much, but for them, it was also a very terrifying increase. The more they fought, the braver they became, and the stronger they became. This made Frieza very interested. Interesting. I didn't expect that the Saiyans have developed to this point. Although there are only a few people left, their performance is not bad. And they are still improving like crazy. It's worthy of being a fighting nation. Frieza was not interested after taking a few glances. It was true that they were braver and braver, but he didn't like it at all. On the contrary, Dr. Gero was extremely interested. Although Dr. Gero had spent a long time with the Saiyans, he mostly studied in the laboratory. He did not really understand the horror of the Saiyans. He only knew that it was a very powerful cosmic nation, but he had no idea where it was so powerful. Now, seeing that all the Saiyans were seriously injured and recovered, their combat effectiveness increased at a speed visible to the naked eye, which made his eyes light up. This is a very beneficial material. If it can be used, wouldn't it make the artificial people more powerful? For crazy scientists like them, as long as it can be useful, they will use it reasonably. He looked back and forth at all the Saiyans, and didn't know what bad ideas he was holding in his stomach, but it was definitely not good for the Saiyans. At the same time, on the North Kai King planet, the god contacted the North Kai King in time and told him everything one by one. His tone was as nervous as it could be. The Hell Passage was opened, and so many terrifying Hell Warriors emerged. The most outrageous thing is that there is also the Universe Emperor Frieza. Isn't this too scary? When he got the news, King Kai of North looked at it briefly and was shocked on the spot. It's terrible. It's terrible. Frieza is back, and he has become even more powerful. Countless times more powerful than before. The Earth is going to be in trouble. King Kai of North was like an ant on a hot pot, running around on King Kai's planet, and even Babris and others did the same. This also disturbed Mu Chuan, and at the same time, he heard King Kai of North's exclamation. On this day, he got important information from it. Frieza is back. And he appeared on Earth. This surprised him. Although he didn't take Frieza too seriously, it was just that Frieza was trapped in hell. No matter how strong he was, there was no way to deal with him. When the other party really appeared, it was estimated that his combat power would have been much better than before, but he didn't expect that Frieza would actually return. What's going on? Swoosh. Mu Chuan appeared next to King Kai of the North in an instant, and put his hands on King Kai of the North, stopping his restlessness. What happened? Let me see. He didn't wait for the other party to react, and with the help of King Kai of the North's ability, he directly saw the situation on the Earth. The Earth was already in ruins. Humans have experienced unprecedented disasters. Even because of Mr. Popo and the self-guided guidance of the gods, most humans have embarked on the road of martial arts. The strongest human combat power is hundreds of people, but facing so many terrifying Hell Warriors, it is not worth mentioning at all, just like ants. One after another was slaughtered. Look at Frieza's side again. There are many powerful warriors, each of whom has a combat power of hundreds of millions, and he himself is even more powerful and incredible. In the distance are Dr. Gero and Dr. Meow. There are many android warriors around them, but they don't know how strong these android warriors are, and they are not strong enough. Maybe it makes them so tough, so their fighting power is definitely not weak. Mu Chuan couldn't help but frowned. This situation was something he had never imagined, and it was also a very difficult problem. It seems that Frieza is the real king who has returned. I just don't know what form he has cultivated too. If he hasn't cultivated the golden form yet, then maybe there is still a fight. He knew clearly how terrifying Frieza's talent was. As long as he practices seriously, his fighting power will be absolutely terrifying. However, after experiencing some setbacks, Frieza will definitely practice well, but it is unknown to what extent. Mu Chuan felt that he had to stop that guy. Even if he still didn't understand the other party's battle, he would not back down. The more you fight, the braver you will be. This is the purpose of the Saiyans. Moreover, he didn't think he would lose, not to mention that he has now mastered the 4th stage of Super Saiyan. In order to ensure that his fighting power is not strong, he also came to the North Kai King planet to steal skills. If he adds the Kai King Fist, his fighting power can definitely reach 100 trillion. As for whether there is any stronger, it depends on whether his body can withstand it. Even if it is Frieza, can the golden form withstand his full-strength battle? Mu Chuan is not sure. But he has to go back. King Kai of the North, I have to go back to Earth first, otherwise the whole Earth will be truly destroyed by them. No. King Kai of the North hurriedly tried to stop him. What are you doing? Although your fighting power is indeed very strong, how can you possibly defeat Frieza now? His energy is too terrifying, and now he is carrying so many warriors from hell. This is simply not something you can deal with. As long as there is a green mountain, there is no need to worry about a lack of firewood, and even the dead can be resurrected with the Dragon Balls of Namek. There is no need to take risks. King Kai of the North hurriedly said, because in his opinion, there is only one Saiyan like Mu Chuan, who is relatively strong, and only if he is alive can he have a chance. At that time, he can still resist Frieza. If he goes up now because of impulse, who else can resist Frieza? King Kai of the North was in trouble. However, Mu Chuan did not accept the advice, and returned to Earth in an instant. He knew that his behavior was indeed inappropriate, but he had a reason to do it. Besides, fighting is the fastest way for Saiyans to improve their combat power. Saiyans never fear fighting. Chi. The boss's Chi appeared. Someone suddenly said something, and a figure suddenly appeared in the sky. The originally noisy scene suddenly fell into silence, and even Frieza was attracted at this moment. Roar, roar, roar. Long time no see. Frieza saw Mu Chuan and greeted him first. The smile on his face was particularly sincere. But the people present did not think that he was smiling happily, but made everyone feel that the temperature around them was dropping. Silently retreated a distance. Even Dr. Gero and others retreated silently, always feeling that something bad was going to happen. Mu Chuan looked around. The surroundings had long been razed to the ground. This was originally a bustling city with a large population, but now there is no human habitation. There is only a black hole hanging high in the sky. When he saw the black hole, he felt a sense of déjà vu. Is it the plot of Hell number 17? Although there are big differences, this is definitely the passage to Hell. After all, even Frieza has appeared. Hey, it's so messy. After observing the surroundings, Mu Chuan can now be sure that because of the crazy actions of Dr. Gero and Dr. Meow, some things have really gone off track. The passage to Hell is opened, and the warriors from Hell emerge one by one. If they are not beaten back to Hell, then the earth will definitely become unrecognizable. Mu Chuan put his eyes on Frieza and narrowed his eyes slightly. Although Frieza did not make any movements, his aura was unusually huge. It gave him a very dangerous feeling. Frieza saw that he was ignored, but he didn't care. Instead, he said in a familiar way, "It's been a while since we met. I missed you inexplicably." Oh, ha ha. The Saiyan planets have been destroyed. Why don't you Saiyans go to extinction with your planets? Mu Chuan, you have a foul mouth. If you, the frozen demons, don't have a home planet, why do you still exist in the universe? Don't you feel ashamed of your ancestors? You. Frieza was choked, but he quickly reacted and adjusted his state in an instant. I don't have time to chat with you here. I climbed out of Hell specifically to take revenge and let you stinky monkeys know. I am not so easy to deal with. It was just a mistake before, and I thought there was no one in the universe who could match me, so I neglected to practice. After this period of precipitation, I practiced day and night to fully realize my talent. Are you waiting to die? Frieza opened his hands slightly, as if embracing the entire blue sky, and his aura began to surge suddenly. As his aura surged, his body, which was originally white and purple, was now covered by a touch of silver. This is his other form. It can also be called a transformation, the silver form. When his whole body was wrapped in silver, a terrifying aura suddenly filled the air. His combat power reached 300 billion. Fight under my powerful fighting power. No matter who it is, you will have to crawl at my feet. You talk too much nonsense. Mu Chuan frowned. Although he felt that Frieza had become much stronger, it was not enough. Boom. Mu Chuan took a step forward and immediately became a 4th-level Super Saiyan. He didn't want to dawdle with the other party. Of course, in addition to not wanting to dawdle, more importantly, except for the 4th-level Super Saiyan, he couldn't deal with Frieza at all, with his current terrifying strength. Even the 3rd-level Super Saiyan was not as powerful as Frieza, so he transformed into the strongest fighting form without hesitation. The fighting power reached 10 trillion directly. A super strong force emerged, and Mu Chuan punched out fiercely. Before Fu Li could react, he grabbed the opponent's head with one hand and rushed to the ground. The speed was quite fast. Mu Chuan smashed into the ground fiercely, and a huge pit appeared on the ground. This was not over yet. He formed a destructive Qigong wave in his hand and smashed it head-on. A loud bang. Everyone was shocked by this sudden battle. This is to say that just hit them, and they didn't even come back to their senses. It was really unexpected. Everyone was stunned. Moreover, Frieza was so powerful now, but he was crushed directly now. This was quite incredible. How is this possible? How can Saiyans be so powerful? Even if they can improve their combat effectiveness by transforming, it is impossible to improve so much. What kind of monster is this? Dr. Gero was shocked, and even had a little fear in his heart. He did know clearly that Saiyans would have a certain increase after transforming. But that was only hundreds of times. In his opinion, it was not scary at all. But now the scene in front of him completely broke his cognition. The powerful Universe Emperor Frieza was crushed on the spot. When Frieza was alive, he was the Universe Emperor. After his death, he was also the well-deserved king in hell. Such a terrifying king was ruthlessly crushed at this moment, and his life or death was uncertain. How could this not shock people? However, the shock of the crowd did not last long. A huge rock fell down, and with a bang, a figure flew out. Although it looked particularly embarrassed, it could be seen that it was Frieza. The figure looked embarrassed, but the temperament was firmly grasped, making people feel a different kind of elegance. Floating in the air, Frieza shook his tail slightly and stared at Mu Chuan intently. Interesting, I didn't expect that Saiyans have other forms. I thought Super Saiyan was the strongest. It seems that I am ignorant. However, you stinky monkey have indeed angered me, so I will let you know that I have not been idle in hell for such a long time. I originally wanted to give you a decent death, but since you have angered me, I will grant you death. A sharp voice sounded, and Frieza stood in the air and exploded. A golden light filled the air. It only took a moment for the silver-white color to change to yellow, and the temperament had become slightly different. As the golden light spread, Frieza's appearance changed again. This time the change was even greater, and the whole person seemed to be alternating between yellow and white, which looked a little weird. But the aura was extremely terrifying. Even the expression on Mu Chuan's face changed a little. Golden Frieza. Mu Chuan was really shocked. If Frieza really mastered the golden form, then he would really be in trouble. Even if he had the fourth stage of Super Saiyan, in terms of absolute strength, it seemed that he really couldn't match the opponent. However, when he saw that Frieza was only a little golden, and then he stopped changing, he was inexplicably relieved. Although he became Golden Frieza, because he did not completely turn into golden, it meant that his transformation was not complete. Fortunately, it's okay. If he really becomes the perfect Golden Frieza, there will be no fun. Although he said so, he also felt a sense of urgency now. Because the historical trajectory was changed, Frieza really realized the importance of cultivation. He never thought that he would become so terrifying just by practicing in hell for a period of time. If he let it go, it would probably become even more exaggerated. At that time, Golden Frieza might really appear. Maybe after practicing hard for a period of time, Diamond Black Gold will appear. By then, even the God of Destruction will be blown up, let alone his Super Saiyan 4. Mu Chuan felt a sense of urgency. Not only can he rely on the improvement of the sign-in system, but he also has to do two things at the same time, the increase in transformation and the direction of God. Both must be implemented together. Only in this way can he be invincible. Enjoying the increase brought by the powerful combat power, Frieza finally slowly stopped all actions. How is it? How does my transformation compare to the Super Saiyan? I prepared this for you because you made me feel the pain I have never felt before. I will repay you tenfold and 100-fold. Although you, a stinky monkey, have improved very quickly, you are simply too inferior to me. The strong fighting power gave him a very strong confidence, so the elegant king returned. However, Mu Chuan did not look at it for a few more times, but glanced at the androids around him, and then a very terrifying aura suddenly emerged from him. Everyone thought that Mu Chuan was ready to fight Frieza. But his action in the next second made everyone drop their jaws. One after another, terrifying Qigong waves sprayed out from his body, and each Qigong wave bombarded an android. If the warriors from hell are more terrifying, then these androids are ruthless killing machines. Not to mention that they can't sense Qi, their fighting power is also very terrifying. Now these androids are already more terrifying than number 17 and number 18 in the original book, so they can't be left alone. We have to clear the scene quickly. Moreover, Mu Chuan always feels that the two crazy doctors will not give up so easily, and they are definitely holding back some bad tricks. And what they rely on for survival is just these androids, as long as all the androids are destroyed. Let's see what tricks they can play. On the contrary, Frieza is easier to deal with, after all, there won't be too many problems. And his actions made everyone unexpected that Dr. Gero and others didn't even have a chance to escape, and were submerged under all the Qigong waves on the spot. I don't know if they are dead or not, but it's definitely not much better. Faced with this result, Frieza felt insulted. This stinky monkey didn't take his powerful and oppressive fighting power seriously. And deal with those rubbish. How much he looked down on him. You stinky monkey, I wanted to have some fun with you, but since you want to die so badly, I'll make your wish come true. Swoosh. Frieza disappeared in an instant, and the next second he appeared in front of Mu Chuan, and punched him when he was not prepared. Then he dodged again and appeared on the route Mu Chuan was about to fly to, wrapped his tail around him, swung it hard, and hit him with his elbow with both hands. Bang! The whole person was hit and smashed into the ground. It felt like the whole earth was pierced. The speed of the battle was very fast, and people were simply overwhelmed, but it was mostly Frieza who took action, and Mu Chuan was completely passive and even like a sandbag. In a few seconds, he was already covered in wounds, even seriously injured. Boss. Seeing Mu Chuan's miserable appearance, all the Saiyans were shocked. They had never seen their boss so embarrassed. He had always been at ease. Even if he met an evenly matched opponent, he would not become so miserable. Of course. That was only because they had never seen Mu Chuan's real battle. After all, when he fought in front of them, most of them were crushing. That's why he seemed at ease. They had never seen a real battle. Mu Chuan was indeed stunned. He only considered eliminating the trouble forever, but he never expected that his actions would completely anger Frieza, causing him to be stunned under this series of attacks. When he was able to catch his breath, he ate a senzu bean without hesitation. Everyone has a sento, and it is a strategically necessary item, especially for every Saiyan, it is a life-saving item. After swallowing the sento bean, his injuries recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye, and his combat power directly reached 13 trillion. Very powerful, but compared to Frieza now, this is not enough. Oh, you seem to have eaten something magical just now. It can actually make you recover from such a serious injury in an instant. There is such a magical thing, but this king doesn't know it. It seems that I am a little ignorant. Hand over what you just swallowed, and this king may be a little gentler. Hey! Mu Chuan snorted coldly, opened his hands, condensed a powerful Qigong wave, and then put his hands together, and a more powerful Qigong wave sprayed out. It's like wanting to destroy the world. Frieza put his hands forward, purple light filled the air, and the destructive light suddenly appeared in his hands and pierced through the Qigong wave. But the next second, a figure appeared above his head and kicked him to the ground. Frieza broke away instantly, but as if he had expected it, Mu Chuan once again threw out a Qigong wave, instantly covering Frieza's path. The two fought back and forth, and a sonic boom sounded in the sky. Thanks for watching, please subscribe and support our channel.